All right. All right. All right. All right. Are we live? Yes, we are. What's up, guys? What's up? Ah, man. Official wait, man. It's over. The official show, it's going down.
Yo, what's up, fool?
What's up, fool?
You can hear me good?
Yeah, you good? What's up?
Yeah, I'm at work right now, man. So I'm chilling. I'm in the booth right now. I'm at the DMV.
Are you liking that?
Yeah.
How's everything going? Good?
It's good, man. Yo, hey, bro, I really appreciate it. Not a lot of people would do some shit like that.
I'm live right now, so you ain't even gotta say a lot, but you good, bro. It's what.
Hey, bro. Hey, man, look. I don't want you to say nothing about this, but I got you. Next game, let me know if you want the last.
You already know. I got you. You already know.
I got you, bro. I got you.
I appreciate
got you next game, bro. Just let me know what you want.
So how about that Resident Evil 3?
RE3, you want that? Yeah, I got you. I'm thinking about getting it myself, so I'm gonna cop that too.
Let's do that shit.
What you wanted on PS4?
Yeah, PS4, because the demo drops today or tomorrow. Or is it today?
For real? It dropped early?
Yeah, because I think Card 8 was playing it, so the demo's out.
Oh, shit. I gotta get on that, bro.
I gotta download that as soon as...
It's early for PS4.
Yeah, true. I know for a fact, though, I gotta grab that for sure. Now that it's happening, so...
I got you, bro. You should stream it too if you can.
Oh yeah. I've been on the Twitch channel left and right. We got a Twitch affiliate, so it's been doing good.
Nice, good shit, bro.
We're doing good. Anyway, shout out everybody in the chat. Everybody's like, what y'all talking about? PS5. You know, we here for PS5. Well, we got PS5, less than 30 minutes, and we'll be talking about this PS5.
Yo, I want to
see
we'll 20 teraflops. That's what I want to see tonight.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, all right, so... 20 teraflops, you really gonna be disappointed. But the way dudes acted though, I ain't gonna lie. I saw dudes. Did you see Jason's replies on Twitter?
Oh yeah, about the piece backwards compatible.
Dudes was coming at that man's neck, over his tweet.
Yeah, they always coming at his neck, man.
They always come at his neck. That's crazy. Leave that man alone. Let that man alone. Let him live.
So, like, people got to think about it like this: is people really fiending for? I mean, look, I want it like just so I can have like all my library there and shit. You know?
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna really be pissed off if it's only PS4. But I mean, PS4 in itself, like that's a good enough library for me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in see how they got the PS3 to work. That's the thing going around, right? They managed to make it work, so. It's going to be interesting to see how that works in general because we already see how Microsoft's doing it. Microsoft has the whole, they support the hard drive. So when you connect the hard drives, the games will instantly work for the Xbox Series X. And all the other titles on Series X need to be, running strictly off of their SSD, their specific one, on the board. So that's kind of how they got their shit working, which is good. It looks good. All games are clocked higher, so performance is key. Higher performance is going to be, I'm guessing, right? It will be the same on PS5. The way I'm looking at here, it's about right. Feels about right going into this. So it's going to be cool. Malik, what's up? Everybody else in the chat, what's going on? I'm sorry, I'm talking to Pablo. I'm not even paying attention to the chat. What's up? Wild Bits up. What are you expecting from the reveal? So I'm expecting, since Sony is the latest to show off anything, I'm expecting console reveal, controller, in-depth review of the triggers, the adaptive triggers. Definitely a more hands-on look of the actual specifications of what's underneath the hood and what's going to be offered. More than likely, they'll probably go into RDNA 2 and show you the DirectX 12, or I said DirectX 12. They will show you the ray tracing. That's what I'm about to say. I said DirectX 12. They'll show you the ray tracing. So they'll show you some games, with ray tracing on, RTX type modes, maybe for some older titles. Maybe they'll show something like Days Gone, performance mode, run it higher. They'll show older titles. I'm pretty sure Spider-Man might be used as a part of the demo as well to show off the load times. One thing Spider-Man is infamous for those super long fucking cuts, or not even cutscenes. There's super long fucking wait times on Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. That's one of my favorite games this gen. But when you like play the game, especially when it transitions from like day to night, you always have this loading screen. It's annoying. So I can see them prioritizing that and putting it on the screen for sure. What's up, Sean? Raymond James, what's up? EJ in the building. Good to see you, brother. Dennis, I see you, fam. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hit that like button, man. We here, man. The speculation's done. This is it. This is the last day. This is the last day you'll hear me ever speculate for PS5. Everything else related will be games on this channel. I'll be talking strictly games. You know, I'm pretty sure dudes are going to be arguing about teraflops, and we'll probably dip and dab and laugh at it, right? But really, we're going to be talking strictly about games, and I cannot wait to get into that stuff. What's up?
Yo,
Platform
Ryan.
in the building. What's up?
Yo, do you think the controller is going to be a big departure from like the PS4, or do you think it's going to be a little similar?
I can see stuff carrying over, like the touchpad. Touchpad, I can see carrying over because PS4 games are back and pat easy with PS5.
Yeah.
So they would probably need that to be compatible in general. So I can see that carrying over. One of the things we talked about, if you guys remember, those of you who were the OGs of the channel, or those of you who probably subscribed and saw that video, or probably went back and checked them, when they were talking about the PS5 controller, it supposedly is a little bigger. So the grips are a little wider. The triggers are definitely a lot bigger. Not crazy big, not insane bigger, but they're, you know, they got a nice different size comparison there. So that's going to be interesting. How they go about it. I'm talking now. I'm wondering how the touch, well, not touchpad. I'm wondering if the light bar returns. You know, I'm wondering if they'll keep that.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to keep that. I don't know, because PSVR has improved. So, yeah, they're working on another VR, guys. I'm not sure if the light bar will carry over. To be honest, I don't think anybody really cares if the light bar comes back or not. You know, I don't really think that many people care for it.
That shit was kind of gimmicky anyways. Like,
it was cool. I mean, it was just like, it's not really necessary. Damn, Warlock, you said you lost your job? I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Nathaniel, what's up? Chili, what's up, brother? What is in here? That did not say. Sarah's the Gray, I see you, man. What's up? I think I said what's up to everybody. Troy, what's up? But and how you doing, Nancy? But it's just like, you know, real talk. I'm hyped. I am hyped. Everything has eventually led to here, man. The wait is over. Everybody can now get their information, you know, we can get the closure and be happy. So I'm happy for everybody. Microsoft got theirs out there early yesterday, and now PlayStation's time to do the same thing. And we're gonna be good. Hey, Pablo, so you gonna watch the stream or you gonna dip out when we're live?
No, I could be in here because I'm in the booth right now. So okay. I don't really have to watch people come in unless like they stop and it look like they gotta ask me something. So yeah, I'm Gucci.
All right, cool. I got it. I'm gonna have everything up so you can see it on screen here.
Yeah, let me ask you this though before you go into it. Are people like what's the hype expectation on this? Are people expecting like game showcases or like?
All right. What's going on with that? For this particular event, this is kind of tricky, right? This is a little tricky. Sony could show off a game. It would be interesting to see if they did show off a next-gen game just to help make up for the long wait time for gamers in general, because, you know, a lot of people really been waiting for information. You would think they probably would show a game. I'm not really sure if they would. More than likely, they'll probably show a PS4 game. They'll probably show some PS4 games, show off the features, maybe show you the new UI, maybe, and give you some more details on the specs. Go in detail, obviously, for that controller. One thing they keep talking about is this damn controller and the haptic feedback controls. So this is obviously going to be a big star as well, aside from everything else. I don't think we'll get gameplay, though, to be honest with you. But I could be proven wrong. They might blow us all away and show gameplay and literally like go, hey, look, yeah, this is PS5. This is what it looks like. Here's Godfall or something, you know? Maybe, because a lot of people want to know more about Godfall. And tell you the truth, Godfall is a game that you can safely show for the consumer and really showcase everything. Because keep in mind, it's not really from their first party; it's from a third party that they teamed up to, you know, make it exclusive to the console. So maybe do something like that to showcase the games. I am definitely though. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else can we really expect in this console. Pricing is not going to be shown. That's for damn sure. Release date's not going to be shown. I don't think that's going to be shown at all. And there was a report about 2 models, right? That was going around, 2 particular models. Not sure if there's 2 models. I would say that there's 1. Sony doesn't need 2. So, yeah, that's my thoughts going in here. What do I want out of this thing? A lot of you probably going to ask me. All I want is just the basic specs. I want to see more about that controller, more details. I definitely want to see if a lot of the patents that we covered on this channel, especially those that were breaking in the industry, for example, the memory cards. You guys remember the memory cards before? Supposedly it was turned down. They were talking about Toyo. Y'all remember that Toyo? And we talked about that on RGT. I don't think it was debunked by Toyo. I think honestly that was them working on their own thing. You know, I honestly do think they have memory cards for this thing too. I think that's the trick for next gen for them. They're gonna rely on these memory cards, these proprietary SSDs, you know, to get games out here and make them take full advantage of the performance. I can see that. Would you like to see the console? I mean, again, it would be cool to see the console. I mean, shit, Microsoft already showed their console, you know. It's kind of pointless to keep that to the chest, you know what I'm saying? Why not show it? You know, why not show the box at this point? I mean, gamers really wanted everything, you know what I'm saying? There's so many events they could have been doing this, but at the same time, we were dealing with this pandemic, and according to a lot of people who were covering this before we even got to the show, a lot of people were saying that PS5 was going to be revealed back at the GDC conference. So a lot of this from the GDC conference was pushed to this particular day. So again, it depends on how you want to wing it, right? And how you want to see it. Do they need to show the console? Honestly, there's really no point in holding it to the chest, to be honest with you, to really be completely honest with you. There's no point in holding that console reveal close to the chest. We already know E3 is pretty much canceled, right? There was no confirmation of Sony doing another show close to E3, at least not yet. Microsoft already said that they're going to do something around E3. So, I mean, you know something's going to happen on both, or on their particular side. Nintendo, I can see probably doing something as well. I'm not sure if they confirmed it, but I can see Nintendo probably doing something. I don't expect Switch Pro at all, you know. What's up, The Finest? Shout out to you, brother. Gotta give you a mad shout. Appreciate all the support, my brother. I do appreciate you. Thank you. My oh my, Big Cloud. I'm hoping for some games showing the load times list. Yeah, if any games going to be showing load times, at least right now, because we're in the early stage, right? We're just showing off the console, tech demo. We're basically showing off the processor, how everything does. They might end up just confirming everything that Microsoft already did with theirs, like the multiple suspend and resume thing. I can see that probably being showcased. I can see them probably talking about, you know, the load times again with certain games we've already kind of known about. You guys see The Last of Us 2 here. I can probably see them using this as a demo, right? Showing off the bow and arrow and saying, hey, look, you can feel the bow as you pull back. I mean, I can see that being showcased today. What's up, Dennis? What's up? Also, I think I missed some money. Hold on. I had an alert, did I not? Shout out to Raymond Robinson and Eber Miranda for subscribing. That's what I meant to say. What's up, dude? Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Pef, what's up, brother? Is that Blaze in the building? What's up, Blaze?
I'm driving home, dog.
Are you driving home? You ready for this?
I'm ready. I hope those egg bugs are ready. That's all.
It's gonna be awesome show. I can't wait. I'm just glad everything's done. Will this be pre-recorded? It's gonna be live. So when you see this video playing, this little Last of Us and everything, this montage I do for you guys every show, the stream will be here, so you can see everything live as we're seeing it right here. Got everything set up for you guys.
Yo, Ryan.
Shout out to Fantasy Raider for subscribing. What's up, brother?
Yo, I'm gonna hit your phone up in 5 minutes. I gotta talk to you about something real quick. All right?
All right, okay.
Or you can deafen, but I'll holler at you in 5 minutes.
Yeah. But shout out to you for subscribing. Yes, the pandemic is real. It has affected. You know, it's crazy. This pandemic. I remember when we were talking about it, a lot of people were like, "Oh, there's no way it can affect it." I remember I was kind of like that. I was kind of naive like that too. I was like, "There's no way this thing is probably going to be that big of a deal." Lo and behold, it became just this global thing, and it shocked us all. You know, a lot of people have lost their lives, and literally, my condolences go to everybody. You know, it really does, but. I'm just glad, you know, hopefully everybody's safe and everybody's just doing their thing. You know, everybody's doing, you know, better and everything's good for you. You know, it's a good time to be a gamer, good time to be united. You already see a lot of people try to make negatives out of a lot of stuff that's been happening as of late. You won't get that here. You know, like I said before, I've been very consistent on my word and I maintain that and I'm staying true to that. This is a place where gamers come together, enjoy their hobby. Same one of the spots where we're just gonna argue over dumb shit. Nah, we enjoy the hobby here. So hope you guys enjoy. Let's definitely get set up. So we got 13 minutes.
Let's get into it, baby.
We got 13 minutes. So let me see. Are they actually playing it yet? Let's see. Hold on 1 second. If they're playing it, I will put it on the screen. No, still got that banner up. So they have.
You think they would give out the price maybe this early?
Nah, no.
Probably not, right? Because of the virus.
It's too early for them. Well, actually, I said it's too early. It wouldn't be wise for them to do pricing right now. It wouldn't be wise.
Yeah,
they're their biggest competitor.
Xbox.
Yeah, their biggest competitor right now, Microsoft, is again. They gotta look out for them, and they're probably waiting for that price. But they're definitely keeping that close to the chest. Release date is definitely being kept close to the chest. I don't even think honestly, I don't even think like on some real guys, to be honest with you guys, again, there's a lot of content creators aren't doing this, especially on PlayStation side, but I would not be surprised if both consoles get delayed. A lot of dudes are saying that it's going to launch this year on time. I'm not so sure at this point. I really am not so sure. I gotta really be honest here. I gotta look at this from a realistic point of view, right? Both sides could potentially be facing a delay. You know, we don't know how long the delay is, especially since everything's going right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I honestly don't think they're on time in terms of launching yet. You know, I don't think it's there yet, but we'll definitely find out. You said there's no delay. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just have that feeling that they might not launch on time. Might be pushed back. Compared to PC. Oh yeah. Both these consoles nowadays, they're definitely going to do good.
Yeah,
I think both consoles will be released this year, but in very small amounts. I mean, yeah, they could do that. They could release it in very slow amounts, but is that wise? You know, is it wise to really just throw them out there, you know, in small amounts as opposed to launching at full strength? You get what I'm saying? Is that wise? But hey, I mean,
he said small amounts.
Yeah, like small limited amounts. And you already know if it's small limited amounts, that leads to what fights and weird shit happening.
You might as well just make a lot. If you can, if it's possible, if the virus is, you know, we don't even know if it's still going to be, like, affecting people by the end of the year. Like,
yeah,
you know, maybe, like, by the end of fall, like, or in the beginning of the fall, it might be gone. So they might be able to go into full production with it.
Yeah,
but if they can't, you know, I'm sure they'll find a way to still make them and stuff, you know, a good amount of them. But
yeah, absolutely.
If they can't, just delay it. Honestly, it's not worth people getting hurt and shit, you know, or getting sick trying to deliver that shit. I wouldn't want to have that on my conscience, honestly.
Absolutely.
Like, buying the console. But
that's my phone's going off.
But I'm excited for these consoles, man. It's always exciting seeing like new tech and like just seeing like what
I really am happy. And Eagles fan, I do see your comment. I agree with you completely. I'm happy for everybody. I really am happy for everybody. Everybody gets their console. They get all their details. They get everything. Everything ends, and we go right back to what it is. Look who jumped in the chat. A Fox has emerged. What's up, brother? Good to see you.
What's up, Foxy?
Let me put the screen up because we got 8 minutes. 8 minutes to showtime.
It's a good thing it's a chill job. I can just chill and watch this whole thing right now. Is it
Yeah.
an hour or 2?
No idea.
Oh
No
shit.
idea how long this is going to last.
I didn't know it was gonna be like a live stream. I thought he was just dropping an article. Like it was like an article interview and that's it.
Oh no,
But
this is full fledged. He's going in full in depth. So this is going to be pretty cool. Let's see how this works.
that's cool.
Yeah. So let's definitely put this on the screen now. 1 second.
But didn't they didn't they show like a tech demo of like Killzone Shadowfall when they revealed like the PS4?
Yeah, that is true.
Maybe they might do something like that with a new game. I don't know.
Possible. It's possible. Is it?
I'm not gonna get too hyped though.
Nah, it's possible for that type of stuff. Again, hard to say. Hard to really say. The hype is real though.
Yeah, it really is. I'm actually like really excited. They've been so quiet for mad long, man.
Mm-hmm. Let me actually go to my phone for a sec.
Yeah, but it's good if those rumors are true about the controller being a little bit bulkier. That's actually good because it'll just feel like a little sturdier in your hands and stuff, and you'll be able to grip it a lot better.
Yeah, wider grips.
So, yeah,
wider grips for everybody, so no issues. That's gonna be good. That's definitely gonna be better. All right, so we're just win. All right, cool. Everything looks good on the screen. I'm just checking everything, guys, for those of you wondering. All right, so everything looks good.
Yeah, no problem.
Foxy, you there?
Yeah, I think you got him so muted right now.
To turn Pablo down a bit. Okay. I can adjust his volume a bit.
My bad, guys. Sorry.
Oh, no, you good. I got you. That should be good for you.
How's everybody doing in the chat, though? I hope everybody's safe right now, man. I know this virus is, like, catching up.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Bray? Captain Skid Marks in the building. What's up?
We're on the road.
We're on the road to nowhere.
We're on the road to hell.
I don't know all that.
We're on the road to hell. We are if you're an Xbox.
Oh, man.
We're on the road to hell. PlayStation Road. Nah, they're cool. They don't worry about all the T-flops.
Oh man, y'all ready, man? This is awesome. We're here.
Yeah, I'm really hyped, man. I'm actually
the hype
really
is here, man. We are done.
It's always fun to see talk specs.
I just, you know what? I'm most curious about these little. It's who's lying and who's telling the truth, because people have really bought into this 13.3 T-flops, and just because, now I'm not saying the guy's wrong, Mr. Fisherman.
Just because he got some, he got some.
But just because you got 50% correct is not 100%, is it? You got half
true.
right so far.
That is so true.
So let's see. I ain't worried anyway, because I've been evangelizing this whole time that PS5 is more efficient than Xbox Series X in ray tracing, RAM, bandwidth, all of that shit, even the CPU. The Xbox, there's a chance that it has a more powerful GPU, but that won't matter because PS5 will make up the power difference in other areas.
Yep. So true. Man, everybody, ladies and gents, is streaming. That the hype level, I know a lot of people are saying mind share, but it's still there for PlayStation, guys.
Yeah, but remember I was told a year ago, that dev kits for 11.6 T-flops, and recently a new bit of 11.6 T-flop rumors came out, didn't it, a couple of days ago? Yep. So what if it is 11.6 T-flops today? What are people going to do?
Well, like I said before last time, where what was it? Push square came at your neck like that. I already know they're gonna do the same thing that Push Square did, and that's disappear. They're gonna go ghost. They're not gonna say a word. They're not gonna go, "Hey, Fox said that." Nah, cutthroat. A lot of cutthroat dudes, man.
Yeah, that's why I don't answer questions no more, because people keep asking me, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Are they going to do this? Like, to be honest, I don't know because I haven't seen the fucking event yet.
Yeah.
But the bits I do know, I'm not even telling people because, or they just use it against you. Even when you're right, they'll fucking have you try and get you ridiculed right up to the point that people realize you were correct. But by then, it's too late. Damage has been done.
Yep. It's
I
sad.
don't care about Foxy. You know, I don't care if someone comes to me afterwards and says, "Oh, you were right, Foxy." I'll say, "Go fuck your mother." Where were you? Where were you when I needed you at the beginning? Fuck you! Don't jump on the train now. Train done past you, motherfucker. Walk,
Exactly.
bitch, walk.
Shit, damn.
He letting it out, bro. It's the last day, man. It's the last day. What's up, Titan Slayer? Shout out to Robert for the 20 pounds.
Hold on a minute. Wait. Oh, we're live, aren't we?
Yeah, we're live. We're live.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I didn't even we went live.
I thought you been there. We were live. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I haven't even. I've been staring at the
Oh, you looking at the
Discord.
screen? The layout thing? Yeah, we've been live.
Discord. I've been looking at this whole time.
Yeah.
I would have watched.
Good, bro.
I would have.
You just vented, man.
What's up, Rob? Appreciate the $20, man. He said, "What's up, Brian? Be safe out there." Same thing goes to you. Shout out to Dealer Gaming in the chat. What's up, brother? Good to see you. You got me? Oh yeah, I like that.
Cutting out. I'm gonna leave.
Oh, you cutting out or me?
You guys are cut.
Oh, jump out of the Discord and jump back in. Maybe it's a Discord issue.
Is it good now?
You sound good.
Is that back? I popped in and out, man, because
Yeah, you sound better. I hear you now.
Yeah. I just wish I knew we were live, because now some people are gonna hate me like my name's Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, I had to adjust everybody's volume. I guess it's my settings, so I had to turn everybody down just a tad.
I mean, you speaking facts, so I mean, it's not like you was lying about it.
Yeah.
Who? Say it again.
No, I said you speaking facts though. Like that's true what you were saying. Like people are like that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why, you know, if you're too honest with people, they don't like you, because no one wants the truth, do they? They're about themselves. Who wants to really hear that they're a schmuck? Who wants to be told that? Eh?
Yep. Very, very true. Dealer in the chat putting 10s in the chat. He says 10 teraflops. Okay, I'm seeing you.
There's gonna be some tears, but which side is gonna be crying?
Cavs give marks to that super chat.
In the closet. Oh yeah.
Oh, we doing this, yeah.
You sound like that Leon guy. Fuck man, Leon Bridges.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
He's a skid marks in the building with toilet paper. $2 super chat.
I think that's his name. I don't know.
Y'all wild. What's up, Jacob?
How many T-flops? Yo, how many T-flops does it take to lick? How many T-flops?
Oh, shit.
Here we go, guys. Here we go. Got a minute.
That's Cisco.
Baby. Oh man.
The guy's name is
Creepy Mark Cerny face right now.
Wow, look at the crowd, man. Did they hide the T-flops in the closet?
Can I make this big for you guys? Yep, I can.
I'll be right back.
Nah, don't worry. Big screen for you guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate all of you guys, man. Thank you so much for coming through. Let's enjoy this, man. Well, let me hold on, let me do this. I got you, dealer. There you go. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Showtime, man. Let's go. 46 seconds.
It's about to go down.
Oh, man. Let's see.
This is the road, the PlayStation 5 road to hell, if you're a hater.
A lot of those.
Oh my god, I'm fucking hyped. Let's go.
With J-Dub, man. J-Dub should have been up in here. That would have been some different shit.
I think you live with Porter Rock
Yeah, he
because
should
Porter
be.
Rock's live.
Yo, shout out to J-Dub, bro. I appreciate the support, man.
Yeah, shout out to J-Dub.
The world has changed.
Here we go, guess.
I hope they show the console, man. Oh shit, I gotta turn this up.
Plan for GDC. But we do have some super exciting news about PS5. And who better to bring that to you than the one and only Mark Cerny. Without further ado, over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jim. There will be lots of chances later on this year to look at the PlayStation 5 games. Today, I want to talk a bit about our goals for the PlayStation 5 hardware and how they influenced the development of the console. I think you all know I'm a big believer in console generations. Once every 5 or 6 or 7 years, a console arrives with substantially new capabilities. There's a lot of learning by the game developers, hopefully not too overwhelming, and soon there's games that could never have been
Blaze,
created before.
deafen yourself, bro.
Now, it used to
typing?
be that as a console designer, you'd somehow intuit what would be the best set of capabilities for the new console, and then build it in complete secrecy. For the PlayStation consoles, that period lasted through PlayStation 3, a powerful and groundbreaking console, but also one that caused quite a lot of heartache, as it was initially difficult to develop games for. So, starting with PlayStation 4, we've taken a different approach, roughly centered around 3 principles. The first of these is listening to the developers, which is to say that a lot of what we put into a console derives directly from the needs and aspirations of the game creators. We definitely do have some ideas of our own, but at the core of our philosophy for designing consoles is that game players are here for the fantastic games, which is to say that game creators matter. Anything we can do to make life easier for the game creators or help them realize their dreams, we will do. So, about once every 2 years, I take a tour of the industry. I go to the various developers and publishers, sit down, and discuss how they're doing with the current consoles and what they'd like to see in future consoles. This requires weeks on the road, as reaching the bulk of the game creators involves talking to well over 100 people at something like 24 publishers and developers. And it is incredibly valuable. By the way, the feature most requested by the developers, that was an SSD, which we were very happy to put in the hardware, but a lot of problem solving was required. I'll be doing a deep dive on the SSD and surrounding systems later on in this talk. It's also key to make a generational leap while keeping the console sufficiently familiar to game developers. I think about this in terms of balancing evolution and revolution. Now, with PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, the target was a revolution each time with a brand new feature set. That was great in many ways, but time for the developers to get up and running got longer with each console. In the past, I've called this time to triangle. Here's what I had for those 3 consoles. To be clear, I'm not talking about time to make a game. Developers will be ambitious, and it may take them 6 years or so to realize their vision. What I'm talking about is that dead time before graphics and other aspects of game development are up and running, and trying to minimize that. On the other hand, if we're trying to reduce that dead time to 0, that means the hardware architecture can't change at all. We're handcuffed. We need to judge for each feature what value it adds and whether it's worth the increase in developer time needed to support it. So with PlayStation 4, we were able to strike a pretty good balance between performance and familiarity. We got required learning back to PlayStation 1 levels. With PS5, the GPU was definitely the area we felt the most tension between adding new features and keeping a familiar programming model. Ultimately, I think we've ended up with something under a month of getting up to speed. That feels like we're striking about the right balance. I'll go into a bit more detail later today about our philosophy with the GPU and the specific feature set that resulted from it. It's also very important for us, as the hardware team, to find new dreams, by which I mean something other than CPU performance, GPU performance, and the amount of RAM. The increase in graphics performance over the past 2 decades has been astonishing, but there are other areas in which we can innovate and provide significant value to the game creators, and through them, the players. That's why the SSD was very much on our list of directions to explore, regardless of what came out of the conversations with game developers and publishers. The biggest feature in this category is the custom engine for audio. That's today's final topic. The push for vastly improved audio, and in particular 3D audio, isn't something that came out of the developer meetings. It's much more the case that we had a dream of what might be possible 5 years from now, and then worked out a number of steps we could take to set us on that path. So here again are the three principles, the first being enabling the desires of developers to drive the hardware design. To me, the SSD really is the key to the next generation. It's a game changer. And it was the #1 ask from developers for PlayStation 5. As in, we know it's probably impossible, but can you put an SSD in it? That was a discussion we were also having internally. It was clear that the presence of a hard drive in every PlayStation 4 was having a positive impact. A lot of things that would simply have been impossible at Blu-ray disc speeds were now possible. At the same time, though, in 2015 and 2016, when we were having these conversations, developers were already banging up against the limits of the hard drive, and a lot of developer time was being spent designing around slow load speeds. I want to focus in on just one number here, which is how long it takes to load a gigabyte of data from a hard drive. The difficulty being that hard drives are neither particularly fast nor flexible. If all your data is in one block, which is frankly not very likely, you can load 50 to 100 megabytes a second, depending on where the data is located on the hard drive. Let's assume it's on the outer edge, which means loading a gigabyte takes 10 seconds. If you compress your game packages, you can fit more data on the Blu-ray disc and also effectively boost your hard drive read speed by the compression ratio. We support zlib decompression on PlayStation 4 that gets you something like 50% more data on the disk and 50% higher effective read speed. Unfortunately, though, it's highly likely that your data is scattered around in various files on the hard drive, as well as sourced from multiple locations within those files. So lots of seeks are needed at 2 to 50-ish milliseconds each. My rule of thumb is that the hard drive is spending 2/3 of its time seeking and only 1/3 of its time actually loading data. Putting all of that together, a gigabyte is very roughly 20 seconds to load from a hard drive. Now, a gigabyte is not much data. Games are using 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM on PlayStation 4, so boot times and load times can get pretty grim. Or to put that differently, as a player, you wait for the game to boot, wait for the game to load, wait for the level to reload every time you die, and you wait for what is euphemistically called fast travel. And all of that leads to the dream. What if we could have not just an SSD, but a blindingly fast SSD? If we could load 5 gigabytes a second from it, what would change? Now, SSDs are completely different from hard drives. They don't have seeks as such. If you have a 5 gigabyte a second SSD, you can read data from 1,000 different locations in that second, pretty much at speed. As for time to load a gigabyte, this is next gen we're talking about, so memory is bigger. Instead, we should be asking how long to load 2 gigabytes. And the answer is about 1/4 of a second. I mean, that's amazing. We're talking 2 orders of magnitude, meaning very roughly 100 times faster. Which means at 5 gigabytes a second for the SSD, the potential is that the game boots in a second. There are no load screens. The game just fades down while loading a half dozen gigabytes and fades back up again. Same for a reload. You're immediately back in the action after you die. And fast travel becomes so fast it's blink and you miss it. As game creators, we go from trying to distract the player from how long fast travel is taking, like those Spider-Man subway rides, to being so blindingly fast that we might even have to slow that transition down. Pretty cool, right? But for me, this is not the primary reason to change from a hard drive to an SSD. The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD is that it gives the game designer freedom. Or to put that differently, with a hard drive, the 20 seconds that it takes to load a gigabyte can sabotage the game that the developer is trying to create. I think almost all of us in the room have experienced this, maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have 2 rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory, which you can do as long as you have a long staircase or elevator ride or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets. Having a 30-second elevator ride is a little extreme. More realistically, we'd probably chop the world into a number of smaller pieces and then do some calculations with sight lines and run speeds like we did for Haven City when we were making Jak 2. The game is 20 years old, but not much has changed since then. All those twisty passages are there for a reason. There's a whole subset of level design dedicated to this sort of work, but still, it's a giant distraction for a team that just wants to make their game. So when I talked about the dream of an SSD, part of the reason for that 5 GB a second target was to eliminate loads, but also part of the reason for that target was streaming. As in, what if the SSD is so fast that as the player is turning around, it's possible to load textures for everything behind the player in that split second? If you figure that it takes half a second to turn, that's 4 GB of compressed data you can load. That sounds about right for next gen. Anyway, back to the hard drive. Another strategy for increasing effective read speed is to make big sequential chunks of data. For example, we might group all the data together for each city block. That removes most of the seeks, and the streaming gets faster. But there's a downside too, which is that frequently used data is included in many chunks and therefore is on the hard drive many, many times. Marvel's Spider-Man uses this strategy, and though it works very well for increasing the streaming speed, there's a massive duplication as a result. Some of the objects like mailboxes or news racks are on the hard drive 400 times. What I'm describing here are things that cramp a creative director's style. Either level design gets a little bit boring in places, or the data is duplicated so many times that it no longer fits on the Blu-ray disc. And you end up with hard limits on the player's run speed or driving speed. The player can't go faster than the load speed from the hard drive. And finally, I'm sure many of you have noticed that after a patch download, the PlayStation 4 will sometimes take a long time to install the patch. That's because when just part of a file has been changed, the new data can be downloaded pretty quickly. But before the game boots up, a brand new file has to be constructed that includes the changed portion. Otherwise, every change would add a seek or two. Even so, you can occasionally see this happening on game titles. They start to hitch once they get patched enough. With an SSD, though, no seeks, so no need to make brand new files with the changes incorporated into them, which means no installs as you know them today. There's yet one more benefit, which is that system memory can be used much more efficiently. On PlayStation 4, game data on the hard drive feels very distant and difficult to use. By the time you realize you need a piece of data, it's much too late to go out and load it. So system memory has to contain all of the data that could be used in the next 30 seconds or so of gameplay. That means a lot of the 8 GB of system memory is idle. It's just waiting there to be potentially used. On PlayStation 5, though, the SSD is very close to being like more RAM. Typically, it's fast enough that when you realize you need a piece of data, you can just load it from the SSD and use it. There's no need to have lots of data parked in system memory waiting to potentially be used. A different way of saying that is that most of RAM is working on the game's behalf. This is one of the reasons that 16 GB of GDDR6 feels right for PlayStation 5. The presence of the SSD reduces the need for a massive intergenerational increase in size. So back to the dream of the SSD. Here's the set of targets. Boot the game in a second. No load screens. Design freedom, meaning no twisty passages or long corridors. More game on the disk and more game on the SSD. And finally, those patch installs go away. The reality, though, is that the SSD is just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of places where bottlenecks can occur in between the SSD and the game code that uses the data. You can see this on PlayStation 4. If I use an SSD with 10 times the speed of a standard hard drive, I probably see only double the loading speed, if that. For PlayStation 5, our goal was not just that the SSD itself be 100 times faster. It was that game loads and streaming would be 100 times faster. So every single potential bottleneck needed to be addressed. And there are a lot of them. Let's look at check-in and what happens when its overhead gets 100 times larger. Conceptually, check-in is a pretty simple process. Data is loaded into system memory from the hard drive or SSD. It's examined, a few values are tweaked to check it in, and then it's moved to its final location. At the SSD speeds we're talking about, that last part, moving the data, meaning copying it from one location to another, takes roughly an entire next-gen CPU core. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If all the overheads get 100 times larger, that will cripple the frame rate as soon as the player moves and that massive stream of data starts coming off the SSD. So to solve all of that, we built a lot of custom hardware, namely a custom flash controller and a number of custom units in our main chip. The flash controller in the SSD was designed for smooth and bottleneck-free operation, but also with games in mind. For example, there are 6 levels of priority when reading from the SSD. Priority is very important. You can imagine the player heading into some new location in the world and the game requesting a few gigabytes of textures. And while those textures are being loaded, an enemy is shot and has to speak a few dying words. Having multiple priority levels lets the audio for those dying words get loaded immediately. On one side, that flash controller connects to the actual flash dies that supply the storage. To reach our bandwidth target of 5 gigabytes a second, we ended up with a 12-channel interface. 8 channels wouldn't be enough. The resulting bandwidth we've achieved is actually 5.5 gigabytes a second. With a 12-channel interface, the most natural size that emerges for an SSD is 825 gigabytes. The key question for us was, is that enough? I mean, it's tempting to add more, but flash certainly doesn't come cheap, and we have a responsibility to our gaming audience to be cost-effective with regards to what we put in the console. Ultimately, we resolved this question by looking at the play patterns of a broad range of gamers. We examined the specific games that they were playing over the course of a weekend or a week or a month, and whether that set of games would fit properly on the SSD. We were able to establish that the friction caused by reinstalls or redownloads would be quite low, and so we locked in on that 825 gigabyte size, while also preparing multiple strategies so that those who want more storage can add it. I'll go through the details in a moment. Back to the flash controller. On the other side, it connects to our main custom chip via 4 lanes of Gen 4 PCIe. And inside the main custom chip is a pretty hefty unit dedicated to I/O. Before we talk about what that does, let's talk compression for a moment. PlayStation 4 used zlib as its compression format. We decided to use it again on PlayStation 5, but on my 2017 tour of developers, I learned about a new format called Kraken from Rad Game Tools. It's like zlib's smarter cousin. Simple, similar types of algorithms, but about 10% better compression, which is pretty big. That means 10% more game on the UHD Blu-ray disc or on the SSD. Kraken had only been out for a year, but it was already becoming a de facto industry standard. Half of the teams I talked to were either using it or getting ready to evaluate it. So we hustled and built a custom decompressor into the I/O unit, one capable of handling over 5 gigabytes of Kraken format input data a second. After decompression, that typically becomes 8 or 9 gigabytes, but the unit itself is capable of outputting as much as 22 gigabytes a second if the data happen to compress particularly well. By the way, in terms of performance, that custom decompressor equates to 9 of our Zen 2 cores. That's what it would take to decompress the Kraken stream with a conventional CPU. There's a lot more in the custom I/O unit, including a dedicated DMA controller. The game can direct exactly where it wants to send the data coming off of the SSD. This equates to another Zen 2 core or 2 in terms of its copy performance. Its primary purpose is to remove check-in as a bottleneck. There's 2 dedicated I/O coprocessors and a large RAM pool. These aren't Zen 2 cores. They're there principally to direct the variety of custom hardware around them. One of the coprocessors is dedicated to SSD I/O. This lets us bypass traditional file I/O and its bottlenecks when reading from the SSD. The other is responsible for memory mapping, which I know doesn't sound like anything related to the SSD, but a lot of developers map and remap memory as part of file I/O, and this too can become a bottleneck. There are coherency engines to assist the coprocessors. Coherency comes up a lot in places. Probably the biggest coherency issue is stale data in the GPU caches. Flushing all of the GPU caches whenever the SSD is read is an unattractive option. It could really hurt the GPU performance. So we've implemented a gentler way of doing things. where the coherency engines inform the GPU of the overwritten address ranges, and custom scrubbers in several dozen GPU caches do pinpoint evictions of just those address ranges. The best thing is, as a game developer, when you read from the SSD, you don't need to know any of this. You don't even need to know that your data is compressed. You just indicate what data you'd like to read from your original uncompressed file and where you'd like to put it, and the whole process of loading it happens invisibly to you and at very high speed. Back to the dream. Thanks to all of that surrounding hardware, our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should translate into something like 100 times faster I/O than PS4 and allow the dream of no load screens and super fast streaming to become a reality. Having said that, expandability of our SSD is going to be quite important. Flash is costly, and you may very well want to add storage to whatever we put in the console. Now, the kind of storage you need depends on how you're going to use it. If you have an extensive PlayStation 4 library and you'd like to take advantage of backwards compatibility to play those games on PlayStation 5, then a large external hard drive is ideal. You can leave your games on the hard drive and play them directly from there, thus saving the pricier SSD storage for your PlayStation 5 titles, or you can copy your active PlayStation 4 titles to the SSD. If your purpose in adding more storage is to play PlayStation 5 titles, though, ideally you would add to your SSD storage. We will be supporting certain M2 SSDs. These are internal drives that you can get on the open market and install in a bay in the PlayStation 5. As for which ones we support and when, I'll get to that in a moment. They connect through the custom I/O unit just like our SSD does, so they can take full advantage of the decompression, I/O coprocessors, and all the other features I was talking about. Here's the catch, though. That commercial drive has to be at least as fast as ours. Games that rely on the speed of our SSD need to work flawlessly with any M2 drive. When I gave the Wired interview last year, I said that the PlayStation 5 SSD was faster than anything available on PC. At the time, commercial M2 drives used PCIe 3.0, and 4 lanes of that cap out at 3.5 gigabytes a second. In other words, no PCIe 3.0 drive can hit the required spec. M2 drives with PCIe 4.0 are now out in the market. We're getting samples and seeing 4 or 5 gigabytes a second from them. By year's end, I expect there will be drives that saturate 4.0 and support 7 gigabytes a second. Having said that, we are comparing apples and oranges, though, because that commercial M2 drive will have its own architecture, its own flash controller, and so on. For example, the NVMe specification lays out a priority scheme for requests that the M2 drives can use. And that scheme is pretty nice, but it only has 2 true priority levels. Our drive supports 6. We can hook up a drive with only 2 priority levels, definitely, but our custom I/O unit has to arbitrate the extra priorities rather than the M2 drive's flash controller. And so the M2 drive needs a little extra speed to take care of issues arising from the different approach. That commercial drive also needs to physically fit inside of the bay we created in PlayStation 5 for M2 drives. Unlike internal hard drives, there's unfortunately no standard for the height of an M2 drive, and some M2 drives have giant heat sinks. In fact, some of them even have their own fans. Right now, we're getting M2 drive samples and benchmarking them in various ways. When games hit beta as they get ready for the PlayStation 5 launch at year-end, we'll also be doing some compatibility testing to make sure that the architecture of particular M2 drives isn't too foreign for the games to handle. Once we've done that compatibility testing, we should be able to start letting you know which drives will physically fit and which drive samples have benchmarked appropriately high in our testing. It would be great if that happened by launch, but it's likely to be a bit past it, so please hold off on getting that M2 drive until you hear from us. Okay, back to our principles. Balancing evolution and revolution is the second of them. This was definitely a recurring theme with the GPU. We need new GPU features and capabilities. If we only have more performance, it's not really a new generation of console. Of course, many of these capabilities result in more performance. That's part of why a PlayStation 5 teraflop is more powerful than a PlayStation 4 teraflop. But we aren't just looking for the performance. We also need the ability to do something with the GPU that could not have been done before. and we need higher performance per watt. Every time we double the performance of some GPU component, we don't want to find out we've doubled the power consumed and the heat produced. But at the same time, we have to make sure the GPU can run PS4 games, and we have to ensure that the architecture is easy for the developers to adopt. Now, backwards compatibility was handled masterfully by AMD. They treated it as a key need throughout the design process. As our solution to adding new features without blindsiding developers, we made sure that if there were new significant features, it would be optional to use them. The GPU supports ray tracing, but you don't have to use ray tracing to make your game. The GPU supports primitive shaders, but you can release your first game on PlayStation 5 without making any use of them. Before I get into the capabilities of the GPU, I'd like to make clear 2 points that can be quite confusing. First, we have a custom AMD GPU based on their RDNA 2 technology. What does that mean? AMD is continuously improving and revising their tech. For RDNA 2, their goals were, roughly speaking, to reduce power consumption by re-architecting the GPU to put data close to where it's needed, to optimize the GPU for performance, and to add a new, more advanced feature set. But that feature set is malleable, which is to say that we have our own needs for PlayStation, and that can factor into what the AMD roadmap becomes. So collaboration is born. If we bring concepts to AMD that are felt to be widely useful, then they can be adopted into RDNA 2 and used broadly, including in PC GPUs. If the ideas are sufficiently specific to what we're trying to accomplish, like the GPU cache scrubbers I was talking about, then they end up being just for us. If you see a similar discrete GPU available as a PC card at roughly the same time as we release our console, that means our collaboration with AMD succeeded in producing technology useful in both worlds. It doesn't mean that we as Sony simply incorporated the PC part into our console. This continuous improvement in AMD technology means it's dangerous to rely on teraflops as an absolute indicator of performance, and CU count should be avoided as well. In the case of CPUs, we all understand this. The PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 each have 8 CPUs, but we never think that meant the capabilities and performance are equal. It's the same for CUs. For one thing, they've been getting much larger over time. Adding new features means adding lots of transistors. In fact, the transistor count for a PlayStation 5 CU is 62% larger than the transistor count for a PlayStation 4 CU. Second, the PlayStation 5 GPU is backwards compatible with PlayStation 4. What does that mean? One way you can achieve backwards compatibility is to put the previous console's chipset in the new console, like we did with some PlayStation 3s, but that's of course extremely expensive. A better way is to incorporate any differences in the previous console's logic into the new console's custom chips, meaning that even as the technology evolves, the logic and feature set that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro titles rely on is still available in backwards compatibility modes. One advantage of this strategy is that once backwards compatibility is in the console, it's in. It's not as if a cost down will remove backwards compatibility like it did on PlayStation 3. Achieving this unification of functionality took years of efforts by AMD, as any roadmap advancement creates a potential divergence in logic. Running PS4 and PS4 titles at boosted frequencies has also added complexity. The boost is truly massive this time around, and some game code just can't handle it. Testing has to be done on a title-by-title basis. Results are excellent, though. We recently took a look at the top 100 PlayStation 4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch on PlayStation 5. With regards to new features, as I said, our strategy was to try to break new ground, but at the same time not to require use of the new GPU capabilities. For more than a decade, GPUs have imposed a restriction on game engines. Software handles vertex processing, but for the most part, dedicated hardware is responsible for the triangles and other geometry that the vertices form. That means it's not possible to do even basic optimizations, such as aborting processing of a vertex if all geometry that uses it is off-screen. PlayStation 5 has a new unit called the Geometry Engine, which brings handling of triangles and other primitives under full programmatic control. As a game developer, you're free to ignore its existence and use the PlayStation 5 GPU as if it were no more capable than the PS4 GPU, or you can use this new intelligence in various ways. Simple usage could be performance optimization, such as removing backfaced or off-screen vertices and triangles. More complex usage involves something called primitive shaders, which allow the game to synthesize geometry on the fly as it's being rendered. It's a brand new capability. Using primitive shaders on PlayStation 5 will allow for a broad variety of techniques, including smoothly varying level of detail, addition of procedural detail to close-up objects, and improvements to particle effects and other visual special effects. Another major new feature of our custom RDNA 2-based GPU is ray tracing, using the same strategy as AMD's upcoming PC GPUs. The CUs contain a new specialized unit called the intersection engine, which can calculate the intersection of rays with boxes and triangles. To use the intersection engine, first you build what is called an acceleration structure. It's data in RAM that contains all of your geometry. There's a specific set of formats you can use. They're variations on the same BVH concept. Then, in your shader program, you use a new instruction that asks the intersection engine to check a ray against the BVH. While the intersection engine is processing the requested ray triangle or ray box intersections, the shaders are free to do other work. Having said that, the ray tracing instruction is pretty memory intensive, so it's a good mix with logic-heavy code. There's of course no need to use ray tracing. PS4 graphics engines will run just fine on PlayStation 5, but it presents an opportunity for those interested. I'm thinking it'll take less than 1 million rays a second to have a big impact on audio. That should be enough for audio occlusion and some reverb calculations. With a bit more of the GPU invested in ray tracing, it should be possible to do some very nice global illumination. Having said that, adding ray-traced shadows and reflections to a traditional graphics engine could easily take hundreds of millions of rays a second, and full ray tracing could take billions. How far can we go? I'm starting to get quite bullish. I've already seen a PlayStation 5 title that's successfully using ray tracing-based reflections in complex animated scenes with only modest costs. Another set of issues for the GPU involved size and frequency. How big do we make the GPU, and what frequency do we run it at? This is a balancing act. The chip has a cost, and there's a cost for whatever we use to supply that chip with power and to cool it. In general, I like running the GPU at higher frequency. Let me show you why. Here's 2 possible configurations for a GPU roughly of the level of the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations too seriously. If you just calculate teraflops, you get the same number. But actually, the performance is noticeably different because teraflops is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units. And those other units all run faster when the GPU frequency is higher. At 33% higher frequency, rasterization goes 33% faster. Processing the command buffer goes that much faster. The L2 and other caches have that much higher bandwidth, and so on. About the only downside is that system memory is 33% further away in terms of cycles. But the large number of benefits more than counterbalance that. As a friend of mine says, a rising tide lifts all boats. Also, it's easier to fully use 36 CUs in parallel than it is to fully use 48 CUs. When triangles are small, it's much harder to fill all those CUs with useful work. So there's a lot to be said for faster, assuming you can handle the resulting power and heat issues, which frankly, we haven't always done the best job at. Part of the reason for that is, historically, our process for setting CPU and GPU frequencies has relied on some heavy-duty guesswork with regards to how much electrical power games will consume and how much heat will be produced as a result inside of the console. Power consumption varies a lot from game to game. When I play God of War on my PS4 Pro, I know the power consumption is high just by the fan noise. But power isn't simply about engine quality. It's about the minutiae of what's being displayed and how. It's counterintuitive, but processing dense geometry typically consumes less power than processing simple geometry, which is, I suspect, why Horizon's map screen, with its low triangle count, makes my PS4 Pro heat up so much. Our process on previous consoles has been to try to guess what the maximum power consumption during the entire console lifetime might be, which is to say, the worst case scene in the worst case game, and prepare a cooling solution that we think will be quiet at that power level. If we get it right, fan noise is minimal. If we get it wrong, the console will be quite loud for the higher power games, and there's even a chance that it might overheat and shut down if we misestimate power too badly. PlayStation 5 is especially challenging because the CPU supports 256-bit native instructions that consume a lot of power. These are great here and there, but presumably only minimally used. Or are they? If we plan for major 256-bit instruction usage, we need to set the CPU clock substantially lower or noticeably increase the size of the power supply and fan. So, after much discussion, we decided to go with a very different direction on PlayStation 5. We built a GPU with 36 CUs. Mind you, RDNA 2 CUs are large. Each has 62% more transistors than the CUs we were using on PlayStation 4. So if we compare transistor counts, 36 RDNA 2 CUs equates to roughly 58 PlayStation 4 CUs. It is a fairly sizable GPU. Then we went with a variable frequency strategy for PlayStation 5, which is to say we continuously run the GPU and CPU in boost mode. We supply a generous amount of electrical power and then increase the frequency of GPU and CPU until they reach the capabilities of the system's cooling solution. It's a completely different paradigm. Rather than running at constant frequency and letting power vary based on the workload, we run at essentially constant power and let the frequency vary based on the workload. We then tackled the engineering challenge of a cost-effective and high-performance cooling solution designed for that specific power level. In some ways, it becomes a simpler problem because there are no more unknowns. There's no need to guess what power consumption the worst-case game might have. As for the details of the cooling solution, we're saving them for our teardown. I think you'll be quite happy with what the engineering team came up with. So, how fast can we run the GPU and CPU with this strategy? The simplest approach would be to look at the actual temperature of the silicon die and throttle the frequency on that basis. But that won't work. It fails to create a consistent PlayStation 5 experience. It wouldn't do to run a console slower simply because it was in a hot room. So rather than look at the actual temperature of the silicon die, we look at the activities that the GPU and CPU are performing and set the frequencies on that basis, which makes everything deterministic and repeatable. While we're at it, we also use AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so it can squeeze out a few more pixels. The benefits of this strategy are quite large. Running a GPU at 2 GHz was looking like an unreachable target with the old fixed frequency strategy. With this new paradigm, we're able to run way over that. In fact, we have to cap the GPU frequency at 2.23 GHz so that we can guarantee that the on-chip logic operates properly. 36 CUs at 2.23 GHz is 10.3 teraflops, and we expect the GPU to spend most of its time at or close to that frequency and performance. Similarly, running the CPU at 3 GHz was causing headaches with the old strategy. But now we can run it as high as 3.5 GHz. In fact, it spends most of its time at that frequency. That doesn't mean all games will be running at 2.23 GHz and 3.5 GHz. When that worst-case game arrives, it will run at a lower clock speed, but not too much lower. To reduce power by 10%, it only takes a couple of % reduction in frequency, so I'd expect any downclocking to be pretty minor. All things considered, the change to a variable frequency approach will show significant gains for PlayStation gamers. The final of our 3 principles was about finding new dreams. It's important for us on the hardware team to find new ways to expand or deepen gaming, and that's what led us to a focus on 3D audio. As players, we experience the game through the visuals, through audio, and through the feedback we receive from the controller, such as rumble or haptics. Personally, I feel a game is just dead without audio. Visuals are, of course, important, but the impact of audio is huge as well. At the same time, the audio team on a game project has to do a lot with a little. For example, on PlayStation 4, there's fierce competition for the Jaguar CPU cores. Audio typically ends up getting just a fraction of a core. That's not much of a computational resource, particularly when you consider that the visuals run at 30 or 60 frames a second, but audio processing needs to happen at almost 200 times a second. So it's been tough going making forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when PlayStation 3 was such a beast when it came to audio. The SPUs in Cell were almost a perfect device for audio rendering. Simple pipelined algorithms could really take advantage of asynchronous DMA and frequently reached 100% utilization of the floating point unit. There's unfortunately nothing comparable on PlayStation 4. Probably the most dramatic progress in the PlayStation 4 generation has been with virtual reality. The PSVR hardware has its own audio unit. It supports about 50 pretty decent 3D sound sources. And this provided a hint as to where we could go with audio, as well as some valuable experience. Not to oversimplify, but here were our goals for audio on PlayStation 5. The first goal was great audio for everyone, not just VR users or soundbar owners or headphone users. That meant audio had to be part of the console. It couldn't be a peripheral. The second goal was to support hundreds of sound sources. We didn't want developers to have to pick and choose what sounds would get 3D effects and which wouldn't. We wanted every sound in the game to have dimensionality. And finally, we wanted to really take on the challenges of presence and locality. Now, when we say presence, we mean the feeling that you're actually there. You've entered the matrix. It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve, but the idea was that if we stopped using just a rain sound and instead used lots of 3D audio sources for raindrops hitting the ground at all sorts of locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin to have this feeling of real presence inside the virtual world of the game. This has the capacity to affect your appreciation of the game, just like music in a game does. The concept of locality is simpler. It's just your sense of where the audio is coming from, to the right of you, behind you, above you. This can immerse you further in the game, and it can also directly enhance the gameplay. To use Dead Space as an example, I know, old school, you're fighting enemies in fairly dark, spooky locations. Back in the day, if you played the game using the TV speakers, you could tell that there was one last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult to tell quite where that enemy was. With headphones, you could tell that the enemy was somewhere on the right, which let you deduce, if you couldn't see it, that it must be somewhere behind and to your right. But with 3D audio with good locality, the idea is you know the enemy is precisely there, and you turn and you take it out. So, how do we know where a sound is coming from in the first place? Well, all those bumps and folds in the ear have a meaning, evolutionarily speaking. Based on what direction the sound is coming from, sound waves bounce around inside the ear, there's some constructive and destructive interference, and the result is a change in volume. The phase of the sound also shifts, depending on what path the sound wave took to reach the ear canal. These volume changes and phase shifts are different for each direction and also vary depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The way that the sound changes, based on direction and frequency, can be encoded in a table called the Head-Related Transfer Function, or HRTF. Here's part of one. The vertical axis is the frequency. The horizontal axis is the direction, front, back, left, right, and the color gives the degree of attenuation of the sound at that frequency. The HRTF is as unique to an individual as a fingerprint is. In fact, you're looking at mine right now. Here's how we measure an HRTF. We've taken hundreds of people through this process. We put a microphone in the subject's left and right ear canals, and then sit the subject down in the middle of an array of 22 speakers. We then play an audio sweep from each speaker as we rotate the subject. In the course of 10 or 20 minutes, we're able to sample the HRTF at over 1,000 locations. Using an HRTF when rendering audio creates unparalleled quality, but it's computationally expensive. The simplest way to use an HRTF is to process a sound source to make it appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 locations we sample. Unfortunately, the processing has to be done in frequency domain rather than time domain, so there's multiple fast Fourier transforms needed for every sound source for every audio tick. That's a lot of multiplies. This computational complexity was the determining factor for our strategy. It meant we had to bite the bullet and design and build a custom hardware unit for 3D audio. Collectively, we're referring to the hardware unit and the proprietary algorithms we run on it as Tempest 3D Audio Tech. The meaning of 3D audio and technology should be pretty obvious here. As for Tempest, I feel it really reflects our goals with audio. It suggests a certain intensity of experience and also hints at your presence within it. We're calling the hardware unit that we built the Tempest engine. It's based on AMD's GPU technology. We modified a compute unit in such a way as to make it very close to the SPUs in PlayStation 3. Remember when I said that they were ideal for audio? So the Tempest engine has no caches, just like an SPU. All data access is via DMA, just like an SPU. Our target was that it would have more power than a CPU, thanks to the parallelism that a GPU can achieve, and that it would be more efficient than our GPU, thanks to the SPU-like architecture. The goal being to make possible near 100% utilization of the CU's vector units. Where we ended up is a unit with roughly the same SIMD power and bandwidth as all 8 Jaguar cores in the PlayStation 4 combined. If we were to use the same algorithms as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources. But of course, we want to use more complex algorithms, and we don't need anything like that number of sounds. It would have been wonderful if a simpler strategy, such as using Dolby Atmos peripherals, could have achieved our goals, but we wanted 3D audio for all, not just those with licensed soundbars or the like. Also, we wanted many hundreds of sound sources, not just the 32 that Atmos supports. And finally, we wanted to be able to throw an overwhelming amount of processing power at the problem, and it wasn't clear what any peripheral might have inside of it. In fact, with the Tempest engine, we've even got enough power that we can allocate some to the games, to the extent that games want to make use of convolution reverb and other algorithms that are either computationally expensive or need high bandwidth. But the primary purpose of the Tempest engine remains 3D audio. Now, 3D audio is a major academic research topic. It's safe to say that no one in the world has all of the answers. And the set of algorithms that has to be invented, tuned, or implemented to realize our vision for 3D audio is immense. For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 HRTF sample locations. But for high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle other possibilities. The sound source might not be at one of the 1,000 HRTF sample locations, so we have to blend the HRTF data from the closest locations that we have sampled. The sound source might be moving, which needs very special handling as that blend keeps changing, and that can cause phase artifacts in the resulting audio. Or the sound source might have a size to it, meaning it should feel as if it's coming from an area rather than a single point. There's also whole categories of approaches to be handled. 3D audio can be implemented using individual processing of 3D sound sources. But alternatively, ambisonics can be used for 3D audio. Ambisonics being somewhat like the spherical harmonics used in computer graphics. And finally, there's audio devices. The player might be using headphones or TV speakers or have a higher-end surround sound setup with 6 or more speakers, all of which need different approaches. That's a lot of variations. It's nice to have the computational resources of the Tempest engine, but it's clear that achieving our ultimate goals with 3D audio is going to be a multi-year, step-by-step process. Having said that, headphone audio implementation is largely complete at this time. It was a natural place for us to start. With headphones, we control exactly what each ear hears, and therefore the algorithmic development and implementation are more straightforward. For TV speakers and stereo speakers, we're in the process of implementing virtual surround sound. The idea being that if you're sitting in a sweet spot in front of the TV, then the sound can be made to feel as if it's coming from any direction, even behind you. Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D audio on headphones, but it's more complex because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa. We have a basic implementation of virtual surround sound up and running. We're now looking at increasing the size of that sweet spot which is to say, making the area you need to be in to feel the 3D effect larger, and we're also working to boost the sense of locality. Headphone audio is the current gold standard for 3D audio on PlayStation 5, but we're going to see what we can do to bring virtual surround sound to a similar level, after which we'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel surround sound. It's now to the point where some of the PlayStation 5 games in development are extensively using these systems. One of the game demos allows you to toggle between conventional PlayStation 4 style stereo audio and our new 3D audio. I listened with just an ordinary pair of over-the-ear headphones, and wow, I could feel a difference. 3D audio has that dimensional feel to it. Conventional stereo audio feels smashed flat by comparison. The improvement is obvious. So, a big advancement, but have I entered the matrix? Does my brain believe I'm really there, like I was talking about earlier when I explained our target of presence? Well, the answer is no, but you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF was being used. It wasn't mine, it was the default HRTF. The audio team analyzed the hundreds that they measured and chose the one they felt was the closest fit to the total game-playing audience. This shows a piece of the default HRTF on the left and my HRTF on the right. You can see that the general features are much the same, but the details are quite different. With the default HRTF, as I said, the 3D audio sounds pretty great. When I use my HRTF, though, the audio reaches a higher level of realism, which is to say that when using headphones and my HRTF, I occasionally get fooled and even think a sound is coming from the real world when it's actually coming from the game. A corollary to this is that there are a few people whose HRTFs are sufficiently far from the default HRTF, that's the red dot here, that they can toggle between PS4 style and PS5 style audio and not sense much difference. I've had a few people describe the PlayStation 5's 3D audio as sounding like a bit better stereo audio. Presumably they're the ones at the very edges of this diagram. Which means what HRTF you're using is key. I'd like everyone to be able to experience what I'm experiencing, but obviously it's not possible to measure the HRTF of every PlayStation user. That means HRTF selection and synthesis are going to be big topics going forward as the Tempest technology matures. At PlayStation 5 launch, we'll be offering a choice of 5 HRTFs. There's a simple test where you pick the one that gives you the best locality. That's just the first step, though. This is an open-ended research topic. Maybe you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll choose a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in our library. Maybe you'll be sending us a video of your ears and your head, and we'll make a 3D model of them and synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio game to tune your HRTF. We'll be subtly changing it as you play and home in on the HRTF that gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you the best. This is a journey we'll all be taking together over the next few years. Ultimately, we're committing to enabling everyone to experience that next level of realism. Hopefully, I've been able to illustrate a bit about our design and decision-making process today and why PlayStation 5 has the feature set that it does. Now comes the fun part. We get to see how the development community takes advantage of that feature set. I'm hoping for the completely unexpected. Will it come from audio, ray tracing, the capabilities of the SSD, or something else? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Thank you for your time today.
All right. That is it.
Yo.
You guys there?
I'm just addressing Kid Smooth. He's retweeted where I put according to industry peeps. See, not me, according to industry peeps. Hold on. According to industry peeps. These people don't know how to read. That's the problem. You see, they are trying to attribute that I'm the industry person. I've typed according to industry peeps. It's looking increasingly likely. Another word, likely, which doesn't mean, oh, this is definitely going to be the case. Likely is not like concluding absolutely. PS5 could edge out Xbox Series X in overall power, but it has. People are dumb. They're looking at 12 T-flops, comparing it to 10.3 and not looking at anything else. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something now, right? This
Shout
is
out
my
to the
reply
580 people here. Hit that like button.
Bro,
Yeah.
Bro, this is my reply
Hmm?
to Kid Smooth. I'm not going to make it about Kid Smooth, but as soon as he's called me out, Smooth, you crazy. The PS5 is far more capable. You think you understand how it works, but you don't because you're all taken in by 12 T-flops GPU, which is going to suffer far more bottlenecks compared to PS5. Because a lot of these people, yeah, all they know about is GPU and T-flops. They don't understand how things work in tandem, yeah? Here's the problem. PS5, Mark Cerny said it himself, PS5 has addressed any concerns with bottlenecking between the GPU, the RAM, and the bandwidth. Well, Xbox Series X relies on raw brute GPU power with slower bandwidth, narrower bandwidth, slower RAM, and divided RAM. So watch what happens when games in the real world, when you're sitting in front of the TV, you watch the difference between, because you know if a system's bottlenecking, it could have a 50 T-flop GPU. If the bandwidth and the RAM and everything isn't synchronized and it can't feed, then that might as well be a 5 T-flop GPU. That's the thing people don't understand. It's like putting a really fast engine in a car, but the brakes are the same. Everything else is the same. The only thing you boosted is the engine. You haven't prepared the car to handle the engine, so you're not going to get all the power out of the engine.
I will find it weird though, too. Though, a little odd that they didn't show the console itself.
I told you they weren't showing it.
Yeah, I'm shocked that wasn't really a thing. Because
they're not going to show the console off right now. People are saying, "Oh, the show was boring." The show, if you don't understand,
supposed to be. This is supposed to be in depth underneath the hood.
This is just a breakdown, people. Like,
it was a conversation.
Like this shit's not interesting to you. That's because you don't like the tech side shit. You know, if it's not interesting to you, it's not that you know.
That. But overall, so. All the answers, all the questions were answered for sure. 16 gigabytes GDR6. I think that's the same as series. Unified. It's 5 or 6.
No, it's unified.
Oh, unified. Okay,
it means all of that RAM can be used at the same clock speed, just like the PS4s was unified. So Microsoft have 10. Microsoft have 10 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
That is fast. But the rest is slow.
Yeah. So
do you understand what I'm saying? It's slow and it has to be used for specific things. Whereas Sony are allowing developers to access that complete pool of 16 gigabytes of RAM. And feed games directly into the SSD through the high bandwidth. And you're gonna see how streaming's better on PS5 games. You watch. People are gonna look at I can't wait to see eggs on faces because everyone's looking at 12 T-flops.
Yeah, that's the thing I see too. I got a few replies automatically when I put the tweet out. They're like, "Oh, it's DOA because of 10.3 versus 12."
People are, you know what? Those people are idiots. They're idiots. They're late. They don't understand. Most of them were saying, "Oh, this is like a lecture" when Mark Cerny was talking because their mind isn't ready for education.
Yeah, and the other thing is this is PS5's only console. Like you're talking about your premium fucking like Xbox is gonna have 2 consoles, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, supposedly that's the thing too.
If that's the rumor, right? So I mean, let's say that's the case, right? So look, 10 teraflops. I called this 2 years ago in the video. 10 teraflops it's really good. There's nothing wrong with 10 teraflops. Are you guys out of your fucking mind?
One thing I will say though, after this, there's going to be a lot of flip flop from some people.
No, don't fall for it.
There's going to be some flip flop. Me personally, I'm not flip flopping. I agree with that.
10.3 T flops,
yeah,
is perfect for what the rest of the system is going to do. It doesn't need 12 T flops because Microsoft haven't got certain things that Sony have in place.
Yeah, so that SSD, they talked about it for, that SSD, that specialized SSD for efficiency, that's one of the main things we've been going over for quite some time, and it was interesting to see how they broke that down in terms of how that's going to work.
The Pro console,
Yeah.
That has 2 PS4 GPUs, right? Made into like an SLI, like a butterfly effect, as Mark Cerny described it, 2 wings of a butterfly instead of 1, That's 2 GPUs. Problem is, it has a lower bandwidth. It can't handle the 2 GPUs. You've never seen the 2 GPUs in the PS4 Pro pushed to its full potential. Do you know why? Because there are memory bandwidth issues and the CPU is weak, right? So that proves my point. There are 2 fucking GPUs in the PS4 Pro.
Hey, dealer,
And
do you want to jump in here, dealer? Because they addressed the issue. One thing that was for certain, the first thing he talked about when he started going into the SSD.
Dealer?
Yeah, Dealer Gaming's in the chat.
Oh, hello, Dealer. I've never spoken to him before.
Jump in. Yeah, you want to jump in? Let me know, Dealer. I'll let you in. He's in the chat. He was in it from start to finish. Shout to him. But
you made me think he was in Discord. He's not even in there.
He's in Discord.
He's not in the.
Oh, he's not in the call. Yeah, he's not in the call. Yeah. But to go back to here, hold on. He said, "You want in here?"
They're both very similar. Man.
Wasn't GPUs. It was mirrored. Have deactivated for OG PS4 games.
So I was right. Efficiency versus brute force. Efficiency versus brute force. I was right. Because the fact that the GPU is lower than Microsoft's, it's gonna surpass Microsoft's system. Not by loads, but it's going to be more effective at certain things, like I've been saying. Because
just jump in the waiting room, dealer, and I'll drag you into the chat. Jump in the waiting room.
I can't take these layman people. They look at numbers and that's it. Oh, the numbers higher, so everything's better. No, you Wally. It's not the same as this current gen.
Yeah.
Can't measure T-flops the same way anymore.
Dude, man, let me tell you.
Fox, it's not even worth it.
Everybody's put so much stock in T-flop.
No, but you got people who don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Who are going to try and call people like me out. Yeah, not just me, because loads of people got it.
Actually, let me just allow them to jump in.
They followed the wrong leakers, because 13.3, that Fisher character, that was completely wrong.
Yeah.
52 compute units. Nowhere near it.
What was that dude's name? Fisher what? What was the name?
Tommy Fisher.
Tommy Fisher. Tommy Fisher.
So people bought into that.
They did. A lot of people really bought into Tommy Fisher. He said 13.3. Again, like I said before we even got to this yesterday, I was like, in order for that to be true, Sony would really have to want the power crown. At the same time, Sony doesn't really need it. It comes down to how they're going about it in general, the efficiency. And we've been talking about that for quite some time. This SSD is the biggest.
Ryan, this is a normal increase. Like if you look at the PS4 Pro, like the teraflop increase is an absolutely normal jump. It's not out of the ordinary. It's what you would expect to happen. Like when I made a stupid video joking around, and the PS5 will have a 10 teraflop GPU, baby. I said that because it just makes sense. It's not outrageous, but it's a substantial jump. It's a substantial leap. Also, it's like this. You guys are worrying about T-flops. I don't care about T-flops because I know the goddamn developers are going to take that. What they did with 1.8, they're going to take 10 and watch. Watch what happens. Fireworks.
Real talk. Also,
it don't matter.
After everything we just heard, hey, dog, I'm interested in seeing. Yeah, I'm interested to see how these games are going to.
Fox, wait. I don't want to cut you off, Fox. Listen, right now, the Xbox One X and the PS4, there's already a 2 teraflop lead with the Xbox. Do you see a difference? Tell me. You don't? Oh, cool.
No, I don't just not see a difference. I've never seen a difference.
Yeah. I'm looking at this joint right here too. So what he said was boost mode. I think as we said boost mode, it's always going to be at boost mode. However, it will fluctuate to the frequency will fluctuate depending on heat. So that's their way of keeping cooling down, and I guess you can say keeping actual sound of the system itself down. That's their trick. So it will be 10.3. running all the time on the system.
I think it's 11.6 T-flops. Not the retail unit, the dev kit. I still think it is.
Holy shit! I got a bunch of audio flying through my.
All right, good. Dealer, loud and clear. What's up?
What's up?
I still think the dev kit's 11.
Hi guys.
What's up, dealer?
Hey, boost. By boost, I mean the clocks are variable. They're not locked like Series X. So basically, if it's running as cool as it can run, it'll clock all the way up past 2200 megahertz. That's a crazy clock for especially an AMD chip. Holy fuck.
By the way, Fraud, you were off. By the way, you said 10.2. He said 10.3. You're exposed.
Well, go look at the numbers. The spec sheet's out, Big Cloud. It's 10.29, fuckface. And, I've known this for a little bit.
It uses what it needs in terms of the clock speed being variable.
Well, it uses what it can handle through thermal. So if it gets too hot, it will underclock itself like a desktop, basically. And that probably means they have a much smaller box. We still got to see their box too, but I've been saying this forever. You know that, right? Like, I expect around 9 point whatever teraflops. Never claimed it to be from some kind of fucking source. I just had my reasons to believe it, went with it. I looked at Cerny's quotes. It'll be a very appealing price. I looked at Jim Ryan's quotes. We're trying to ship more units than ever at launch. That's not a $500 system to me. So
but Dylan, isn't that a logical leap? Like 10 teraflops, 9 ter- that's a logical leap from the PS4. That it just makes sense. Like if you were to look at it normally, like
from the PS4, yes, it's a damn good leap. From the Pro and from the X rather. It's not massive, but I've been saying it forever, RDNA, stuff like that. These fuckers keep saying I said RDNA 1 because I'm reading a website. The damn text is on screen. Meanwhile, I'm talking about RDNA features like ray tracing are already on PS5 months and months and months ago.
But nobody wants to actually look people in here hit that like button.
Ironically, right? Nice to meet you, by the way. Ironically, the very first video I made about PS5 was the preliminary specs, and in that I said Sony want at least 4 T-flops more than Xbox One X. They got it. They got it. It's 10 T-flops.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, everyone gets shit wrong. I've done it. Everyone in here's done it. It's okay. And I don't. I did notice everyone in here suddenly didn't give a fuck about the power instantly. I mean, you telling me if it was like 13, you guys wouldn't be like, fuck yeah.
Oh hell yeah! I'd be Sony capital,
but nobody seriously believed it was going to be 13.3 T-flops.
Yeah. Well, what about 11.6?
Well, I think
11.6 is kind of where I was at.
Well, dev kits don't run that much higher. Dev kit on average runs about 0.4 T-flops faster than the retail unit. So we all knew that the dev kits weren't really clocked that high.
Well, look, there wasn't it a developer that put out something like a week or two ago? Something about 11.6 in terms of the dev kit. Wasn't that all over Twitter? And people were running with 11.6.
But did he specify architecture or anything like that?
He just said PS5.
Yeah. So they have placeholder kits out there that do use GC and architecture. And the funny thing is, when you look at the 13 point whatever the fuck rumor, if you translate Navi 9 to what is now, because they've clocked this thing over 2 gigahertz, which blows my fucking mind. I'm the most impressed by that, right? I've always said
they got the most out of it, right? Yeah,
like that they clock. You guys got to understand.
That's really
AMD
good,
chips. Yeah. There is no AMD chip I've ever heard of that runs that fast, that high. So Xbox decided, and we've heard developers complaining about the noise from the dev kits, so we figured, okay, it's going to be clocked pretty damn high. And I covered this in the past that I was told by people, basically my people that I get a few things from, that Sony are doing hardware-based emulation of their backwards compatibility. And that's why they actually have to stick with multiples of 18 CUs, so their software will run on it properly. And we knew that they were limited to 36 CU. Been saying it since the beginning. We just didn't know how high they could possibly clock the thing. I had my doubts at 2 gigahertz, and so did Xbox, by the way. But 2200? That's crazy.
In the talk, he said something about it's easier to manage 36 CUs compared to 48.
Yeah, he's talking about like compatibility.
In terms of managing it as well, in terms of frequencies, up in the frequencies.
Yeah, because if you got 48,
it's much easier for them to get better results or something.
You're sucking more power and you're making more heat. So one of the biggest costs, or one of the bigger costs of the PlayStation 5 is going to be that cooler. I can't wait to see this box, by the way. It's going to be the cooler.
He was boasting about it, saying you'll be very happy with it.
I mean, like I said, I'm getting both day one. I God of War and Witcher 3 are the best games ever made, in my opinion.
Facts.
And fuckers don't watch my shit, and they like to talk shit. But at the end of the day, like,
I mean,
both systems are going to be great.
I mean, bullshitters everywhere. Remember, Dylan, we hate each other.
yeah. Fuck you, BitCloud.
Fuck you, you fucking fraud.
What did you think anything when you saw that 10 in the chat?
I mean, you kept saying 10, which I'm like, is this motherfucker really trying to act like Palpatine? He's like, yes, it would be 10. Like in the chat.
like a Subway mime with an extra.
I just kept saying 10. You sit there, I'm waiting for 10. I'm waiting for 10. Like, Dylan, shut the hell up, you dick.
You're like, get the fuck out of here. And then what happened when you heard 10? You're like, fuck me.
I mean, like I said before, the games is what's going to separate.
I know. No one has disputed that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Some people have. Some people are saying,
well, here's the deal.
In this chat.
Why don't more of us ask for both games and performance? Why is it going to be one?
Exactly.
Look at this, negative. Everyone's saying...
Everybody has to have a negative.
Look at this. All I can see now is people saying Xbox is way more powerful. 30%
So,
more powerful.
Well,
does this come back?
They're right. Like,
do you see this flipping?
Technology today. Everybody.
Yeah. So if y'all look at this in a realistic perspective, do y'all see this flipping to this system being $400 versus like a $500 price tag Series X?
Big Cloud, I've said this since the beginning.
No, you didn't. You said it was $700.
Yes, no, you fucking liar. I've expected $399 from this thing. You can go back. So much so that I almost state it like it's a fact. Admittedly, I probably shouldn't have been that confident, but at the end of the day, like I'm hearing that Sony want to try to do 5 because their SSD is better. Yeah. Microsoft have tried to get they're both PCI 4. That's proven by the speeds under compression, the decompression block and the compression block in Series X. Yeah. Gets the bandwidth, the gigs per second up to about 4.8 gigs, which is much faster than 3.0. But at the end of the day, like this thing is, the PS5's got a phenomenal storage in it, and that's going to be great for load times and things like. You know, they've already talked about fast travel and stuff like that.
They kind of threw me off guard. Well, they shocked me too, though. So remember how Microsoft has their expandable like memory card storage, proprietary SSD?
I didn't expect that. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Like I was expecting like something similar to that, maybe, because you know that's obviously going to be the case for the next gen games. They have to run on those new SSDs because they're clocked higher.
But here's some bullshit though, Big Cloud, and I brought this up on RDX when we were talking about Series X, right? I said, well, look. I'm going to get a patch for Doom Eternal on my Series X, right? Day one.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm going to go over to the PC, and I'm going to go ahead and download that damn game on the PC and run that on my 7200 RPM drive. I got a 7200 Western Digital Black in there, right? I'm forced to... And I've come to the conclusion that it's for development's sake. They're using a very large virtual memory pool in Series X that they haven't really talked a lot about.
It takes pressure off the dev, but it kind of puts more of a hassle on us to download the games and have them there.
Well, it's I'm just saying that you'll be able to play the same fidelity games on regular ass old slow hard drives on the PC, and meanwhile on these consoles you might be potentially limited to SSD only.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that was their only way, to be honest with you, because we're talking about ray tracing. We see RTX modes being a thing now.
Well, PS4 games, I think you'll be all right. But yeah,
PS4 games. I don't know. Did he say PS3? He was showing off PS3, but I don't think he confirmed.
No, the PS3 was an example of.
It was an example. So he didn't really show PS3. So there's none for PS3.
But listen, you can use standard SSDs from the PC market, so I'm really happy with that. That means
that's cool.
That is better. That is better, and that's something I didn't like about the Series X. I don't like anything proprietary like that.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. So,
but I knew the X was going to be more powerful. Microsoft's not going to come out there and say we got the most powerful console again if they don't know something. They clearly knew something. That's why they're not going to put their shit out there.
They've never said they got the most powerful console. They said it's the most powerful Xbox console.
No, Phil has
gone. No, he said that, man. I've heard him say it.
No, he's always been careful, man. He's always said it's the most powerful Xbox console we've made.
Phil said the most powerful the performance leader, and I am pretty sure we are there now. I mean, he said this in a couple different interviews. The writing's been on the wall, along with Sony's comments more than anybody's.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, knowing if you if you know anything about like the hardware back compat, you know they're limited to clusters of 18 CU stuff like that. So when it comes down to it, it's very, very interesting the way this is played out, but also not. The most interesting thing is that goddamn clock speed. Goddamn, that's high.
Are they going to have two consoles, Xbox or not?
Xbox has two consoles. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So like, it's not a big deal. Like, so if you the enthusiasts are going to go get the Series X, like me, like everybody in this chat probably. Okay, so the other console will probably be, I would say, a little bit less than the PS5.
Oh, it's a lot less than the PS5.
Okay, so
in terms of performance, it's a lot less than the PS5.
So I mean, dude, look, at the end of the day, anybody that buys a next gen console is gonna be okay, regardless of what you buy. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
The irony is, on screen, I mean, people are talking about all these numbers, spec sheets, but when you're playing the game in reality, I defy anyone to tell me which one has lower T-flops than the other if they were both hidden in playing the same game. I bet you no one's gonna be able to tell which one is which without looking at the controller prompts.
I don't know. Does it really
10.3 T-flops and 12 T-flops? It's like, I don't see a big difference. If we're talking about 1.8 T-flops compared to like 2.3, because those are lower numbers, it stands out more. But once you start getting to a certain number of T-flops, like the one extra T-flop or 1 point whatever extra, it's not going to make any bloody difference, mate.
Well, here, let me break this down to you with the Xbox One X and the Pro today, and Digital Foundry as a whole website where you can find all this stuff.
There's a few games that.
No, I mean, there's a ton. I mean, it's big. There's a massive list, and again, I don't know how much you guys look into this, but resolutions are often double the Pro. 1440 to 4K is over double, or 1440 to 1800p. That's millions of extra pixels, by the way.
Yeah,
that can in the future be put towards effects and stuff like that. Yeah, we're talking about 14 flops, yeah.
Once you get to 10, once you get to like beyond 9, 10 T-flops, yeah.
No, it actually gets worse when the numbers get bigger because it's like $1. What's 3% of $10? $3. What's 3% of fucking $100? It's $30. The delta gets bigger, the bigger the number. And under RDNA architecture,
on paper, yeah, but to the average Joe playing the game, if they play a multi-plat PS5 game, multi-plat Xbox Series X game, yeah, and they can't see which controller is which, and the systems are covered up, I defy any of them to say which one has got the more T-flops. They won't be able to tell. They'll look identical.
Look, I'll say this. Look,
multi-plat games. I'm talking about multi-plats.
No, dealer, and I know you said, there's a million
parity, man.
If we're talking about 1440p versus native 4K or 18, there's a bunch of that, way more. What I meant is like the games that stand out to me, like the Red Dead's, like that looks
the ones where it's like instantaneous, like
you can see it. Mm-hmm. But for the average Joe, like you got a PC, dude, you switch from 1440p to 4K all the time. I'm sure you do, and I'm like, dude, even me, I can tell because I'm like my eyes trained for it, but I'm telling you, if you're switching from 1440p to 4K on my monitor on a TV, it's a different story. It's who knows?
There's much more to it. You are entering
which one's gonna cost less?
The PlayStation.
Yeah, it's gonna cost much less. I think maybe $100. They might do the same thing again and be $100 cheaper.
It'll be 5 and 4 again. Watch.
5, 4. I can see that for sure. Definitely with this. And since now again, it's going to come down to the killer launch app for it too, to go with this system. So what's going to be the game to launch with it? Obviously, this reveal pretty much answered all the questions, so we got everything out the way. So that's cool. I'm glad everybody got their info. Now the dumbass speculation on certain things can stop. Nitrogenix, he said, he dropped the $2 super chat. He said, Xbox Series X is way more faster and powerful. Xbox Series X has a powerful GPU. It is not faster from what we saw.
I mean, it's faster on paper and on every way except for the SSD.
Yeah, that's his name. But
now, also, the term brute forcing, it's actually a really, really efficient box. They've put a lot of time into BRS, things like the Hovis method. Every single inch of that fucking cube is pretty much optimized to run games as best as possible, and they put a lot of time and emphasis on this. I'm surprised to hear anything about that it's not an efficient box and that it's brute forcing anything because
who said it isn't an efficient box? Who's been saying that?
No, I heard you say it was brute forcing stuff, and PlayStation's
I said they're both efficient, but one of them brute forced is more than the other, and they've proven it. The GPU's 12 T-flops. That's brute forcing performance.
Well, an example of brute force would be like, let's say you didn't have tensor cores in your graphics card that did ray tracing, and you wanted to go ahead and try to do ray tracing on something like a 1080 that doesn't have that, and you want to software emulate it. That's going to crush your performance because you're emulating it. You're trying to brute force ray tracing rather than actually having the dedicated RT cores in the card. That's brute forcing.
No, I'm not specifically talking about ray tracing. I'm talking.
Well, it's just an example that I thought would be easy to
like they've gone for 12 T-flop GPU to brute force results because Sony's gone the efficient way, where they don't feel they need that much GPU power. They're more concerned about preventing bottlenecking with the GPU, the bandwidth, and the RAM.
No, I think Sony's concerned with
the price. How have they gone
They've gone different ways to achieve the same goal.
Yeah. I think Sony went with 10 T-flops to keep the price down.
And that's that as well. Yeah,
they went with 10 T-flops because they had to use 36 CU. As I said, I'm not making the shit up. I mean, they were kind of. You guys wonder why Phil was bragging about that backwards compatibility through software? The Sony are doing it through hardware. That literally puts their hardware in a box. It has to be compatible in some way.
Right, where Microsoft can kind of magician it, Sony has to go by the numbers, right?
So I would expect Sony to transition to a system like that.
But maybe down the line. So down the line, if there is a pro version, it would be what? So you would know that right away, going based by the numbers on the PS5, right?
Yeah, and AMD's roadmap. That's actually how that one guy, along with multiple other people, said 52 CU at 1825 megahertz, because you got to do math. It's in a box itself. You do math, you get up to 12 T-flops with so many CUs, and you find out what frequency makes it 12 T-flops. These people didn't go and choose from thousands of numbers and, he guessed it perfectly. No.
Look, this dude on my Twitter, look, guys, people on Twitter, like, I'm a Sony guy, but it's okay. Look, it's okay. Like, why are you guys getting mad? Like, yo, look,
like,
who cares?
It's because
it's okay, bro. I'm buying. I own multiple Xbox.
I thought
so. I'm looking at the.
People are making a bigger deal out of this than the coronavirus. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely is, especially after all the shit that people have been talking over this past several months. It definitely is kind of a big deal. Sony finally come up with
but
information.
not a big deal enough to say, oh, F PlayStation or F Xbox. That's like
it's plastic. Let them say fuck it. Who cares? I mean, here's the weird thing about the spec sheet, right? It says 8 Zen 2 cores at 3.5 gigahertz, which is slower than the Series X, but they do not list SMT. So according to this, and I expect them to have it, but for some reason, right now you've got 8 threads versus 16. Series X having double the threads. 10.28 T-flops, variable frequency, meaning just like a graphics card, that frequency is going to drop when it gets hot. That's, again, you're not going to be at 10. That thing will drop down into the mid 9s.
Did they speak HDMI 2.1? Because I stepped away for a second. I don't know.
I'm looking through the list right now.
It is HDMI 2.1.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, 16 gigs
of GDDR6 at
Can you see me the spec sheet? Where'd you get the spec sheet? Are you on their site?
Digital Foundry put it up.
Oh, Digital Foundry. Is it on Twitter?
448 gigabytes per second. Series X has over 100 gigabytes per second more bandwidth. Custom 825 gigabyte SSD, 5.5 gigabytes per second. And that's raw, so that's great. That's native without compression.
Okay.
And then you can something.
Yeah, with compression.
Yeah,
so
that is a lot of data.
It's great, but you need to know, and this is important. SSDs do not increase your performance.
No, but they obviously allow the loading to be much quicker.
Yes, the loads will be phenomenal. Stuff like that will be
it's
great.
It's the data streaming as well that I'm looking forward to. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, like the way that world streams on a slow PS4 1.8 is amazing. Imagine what that's going to look like in the sequel.
Trust me, man. Like Game Worlds ain't even come close to maxing out shit way slower on the hard drive side than Series X and PS5. They're not even close. So you did say you can buy third-party NVMe's, which is great. I agree with that 100%.
But he scared me because he said, like, why don't you hold off just in case it's not supported. So that's kind of weird, I would hope, because I got an M.2 NVMe in my PC right now, and I might as well just
the good news is I'm a multi-platform gamer. Switch, Xbox, PlayStation.
Well, I mean, if you like
I'll have them all, so it won't matter which one is weaker or more powerful, which game isn't coming out on this day, because I got plenty of choices.
Yeah, I mean, if you prefer PlayStation, though, right? Like, I like the console ecosystem myself, so I've got a Threadripper 2080, fucking massive, ridiculous.
It just collects dust in your corner.
Yeah, and I render, videos with it, basically, so I don't really play on PC, I don't prefer it, but I want performance and games. We've been asking Microsoft for better games, bigger games for years. If you watch a podcast, comparing the frequencies of the
I love how you hated on The Last of Us Part 2, but you're hyped for that Playground game. So
how did I hate on Last of Us 2?
You hate games. You hate good games. You don't like interactive.
What are you talking about, bro?
Looking graphics.
You motherfucker! I'm about to throw a rock at you right now. You're reading some idiots in the chat who don't know shit about me again. Last of Us, I'm very excited. Pre-ordered that. And,
I'm fucking with you, fool.
You know what, Dealer? I will say this about you, Dealer. I will say this. Because I'm always like, Sony, baby, God, and I used to see you, man. And my old side from 5 years ago would have hated you. But, my balls dropped. I kind of.
Hey, that's how I was 5 years ago, man. I was calling people names. I was getting called in the comments and shit. Fuck.
Yeah, we're arguing on dumb shit.
Rev's an Xbox guy, and I kind of just.
So I'm going with 399 to 449.
It's gonna be $399.
Yeah,
and I'm going for 500 to 549 on the Xbox. I don't think they'll sell that for 600.
Yeah, $600 is not. They're not touching $600.
That's too much.
Yeah.
By the way, the memory in Series X is actually not. It's actually a unified pool, but it's got two different sections where you can put certain things. So what Microsoft have done on the 10 gigs alone, you've got 560 gigs bandwidth. That's 100 more than PS5. Then on the 6 gig, you've got an extra 336. So that is for like CPU driven tasks.
Low, or is it lowered?
No, it's you can use them both. You can use them both in tandem. You know what I'm saying?
If it's a slower speed though than the 10 gigs, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying.
Much slower.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But the 10 gigs you use, right? You can max it out. And then let's say you got CPU operations and stuff like that, something that might take RAM for a game, audio. Yeah. You can stick that in that side of the RAM. That's why it's slower.
I appreciate that, but the 10 gigs, that's just for visuals. You know that. You can't say I'm going to take from the RAM reserved for CPU and put it into the visuals.
No, you can put it. You can put it anywhere. You can put it up anywhere. It's up to the developers.
It's like the PS3. When they had the PS3, they split it. 256 for the video, 256 for the CPU or the operating system, whatever. With the Xbox, they've gone 10 fast, and it is fast, way faster than PS5. Right, fast 10 gigabytes of RAM, but the other 6 they've split it.
It's a partition inside, but it is unified. Does that make sense?
So can they take it all and just shove it into one pool and just work from it as a unified?
It is one pool. Digital Foundry covered this pretty in depth.
Yeah,
it's one pool.
Yeah,
it's one pool.
I thought the dealer every now and then.
It's one pool, but developers can choose to put things that don't need a ton of bandwidth in the slower memory, which the slower memory is still pretty fucking fast, 336, but you know what I'm saying? So it's not like PS3. It's not actually divided like a PC system RAM and video memory.
You still use it in the graphics department.
Yeah, all of it works together is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But yeah, PS5, they got an edge in the SSD and a pretty good edge. So you're talking about, the difference between, 10 seconds and 5 seconds for a lot of loads, and maybe realistically, if you got twice the bandwidth, which they don't, you're talking about, 10 to 5 seconds difference. So that's substantial, but they have a plan. They've invested a lot of money into this hard drive, but that is the one advantage that it does have. Everything else is a wash quite badly.
I'll be able to get a, you won't be able to get up and get a soda.
VR, yeah, they do have VR, yeah. Phil Spencer said, fuck that, right? So,
I mean, VR is kind of niche anyway.
The gamers want VR on Xbox. I hear them saying they want VR.
Yeah, they do. Even if I didn't want it, I mean, yeah, they should still be able to have it if they want it.
It works on PC, all right? They got VR for PC. Why can't they just do a thing where they're already doing cross-gen gaming? Like, why? You should just allow Xbox gamers to use the PC, make it compatible.
I'm sure they'll add it in if the man.
If it takes off a little more, and they can always add. I think nothing's stopping them.
Yeah, a little weird.
Yeah, what Microsoft did with that back compat is really underrated, bro. For real, like.
Mm-hmm.
To bring games up with higher resolutions that run stable. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's crazy what they're doing. You can't even tell it's emulation, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, like it literally convinces the box you're on that it is either PowerPC architecture or whatever Xbox it is, right? Like the box thinks it's an Xbox One or an Xbox 360. Like it's very interesting. Runs the games better and everything.
No mention of legacy back compat. It was confirmed. I'm not going to say their name because disrespect, but someone quite prominent in the community said that 100% confirming PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4. I even heard Vita.
Who said that?
Listen, it's out there, man. I don't want to,
You can say it. Ain't a big deal. Ain't that right, Ryan?
Don't even say it. Don't even start.
I don't know, man. At the end of the day, man, like it's okay that it's less powerful. It's a good. And here's the final cap on the power thing, right? I already clarified the difference between X and Pro. There is a pretty good disparity there with 1.8, but those are GCN T-flops. 2 T-flops and RDNA is really actually more like 3.
Right.
It's actually, and not to mention, Series X has better ray tracing. as I've said. So that's another thing that they've got. So they didn't compromise shit. They knew they were going for what is probably going to be
How
$500
did we know that?
because of the information that Sony gave out. I feel like their patterns are pretty obvious.
Microsoft have only showed us. They haven't really gone into detail like Mark Cerny.
Oh, they have. Yeah, they're. No, you need to watch some of my videos, damn it.
No,
they're
where's the official information. Your videos are great, but where's the official shit?
It's linked down in the description of the video. So the architect of the system talked about the ray tracing and basically said that we've got 12 T-flops of RDNA compute, and we basically have just over 13 T-flops worth of ray tracing. It affects the GPU 0, and together we have 25 T-flops theoretically. Blah blah blah. I shut it down in my video. I said, don't go run around saying we got 25 T-flops. Sounds stupid. But basically, they've got 12 GPU
operations,
and they've got 13 T-flops worth of ray tracing capability in their dedicated hardware.
Yeah.
So it's serious stuff.
I don't think we've heard. I don't think, and I'm not trying to damage control because I know people love to say that. I know it's such a cliche to say it. Like,
they're right, Deal. You do it all the time.
But Mark Cerny, I don't feel like he went into.
I heard your tone switch the second that 10 came up. Oh God!
I feel like Mark Cerny hasn't gone into in a lot of detail in some areas of that presentation. Like, some of it was skimmed over. I'm pretty sure there's more to
There's a reason he skimmed over hardware ray tracing the first time it was ever mentioned, ray tracing. He didn't forget. He skimmed over it because, as I've suggested, I think it's an afterthought. It's probably not a super crazy version of ray tracing for a console.
You know, honestly, a ray tracing.
Man. This is your anecdotal. Like, this is what you're saying is just your opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I said probably.
Yeah, but it only means something to you then. It doesn't mean anything to anyone else.
Well, it should mean something to anyone who heard the word probably.
I don't want to argue with you. That's not that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, just saying, if you say that it's probably this, probably that, I take that as
doesn't make it so. Is what I'm saying. That's all.
I feel like it was obvious that it was my opinion.
No, what? No, not that part. The fact that we don't worry. I know what I mean.
Yo, ray tracing is all cool, but I mean, it's not a mega. Like, I don't even use it on my PC. It takes up too much performance. It's not worth the performance cost. I used it on Control. It was done really well. That's why I used it. But ray tracing is super demanding, and I'm sure they got a different technique AMD does, where I feel like it's almost like ray tracing, bro. It really is.
Well, and then you turn on like DLSS or checkerboarding, and it makes the
games. That's what I'm saying. Let's see the games. That's all that counts. What comes on your screen? Let's see the games.
Yeah, you definitely want some great games.
Can you imagine
have audio refresh?
Checkbook out, boy.
The next Forza, the next God of War. Like, oh my God, can't do it. Can't deal with it. I can only imagine
this whole thing. Oh shit! It's
I want
over.
Halo Infinite to blow me away.
Shit, you and me both.
Whatever Sony
Dealer is praying every day that shit is perfect on every front.
I'll be playing all your games too. Games
you don't even fire up. You play, man.
You're right. Yeah, I don't fire it up because the game wanted that I want to play every fucking 8 months. So I did fire it up.
Hey, he's on my dealer.
He's on my friend
list. The Pro when I got the X.
He's on my friends list. He doesn't touch his PlayStation. So
bro,
I'll take this.
I'm the total opposite of you.
I beat God of War twice. Beat Spider-Man twice. Like, I'm good.
You beat it one time and it was on easy mode. Stop.
Fraud. Stop it.
Stop, sir. Stop.
Maybe tell people about that rash you were telling me about. They got great games. They got great games, Brian. You know that we've talked extensively on my show about how we want that caliber of games. That's why we want those that's why they need to steal those developers, because they could use the help there. So they got some stuff coming. Hopefully,
y'all have to excuse me. I got a video to make.
All right, bro.
You already know, brother. I'll see you Friday, bro.
I haven't covered Xbox. I haven't even covered the Series X because I was waiting for today. So I'll do them both in one video, and I'll be very honest about the findings. There's going to be no whitewashing or cover up. It's all out there now. Thank goodness. No more speculation. No more 4chan nonsense. It's out there.
4chan, Reset Era, all trash.
Yep. There I know. I'll see you Friday, bro.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, Fox,
You too, man.
Later, bro.
Later, bro. Later, Fox. Shout out to Fox.
Later, Blaze. Later,
Later,
Ryan.
bro.
Later, bro.
So, Big Cloud,
What's up, fam?
how many people in Reset Era are left that are insiders?
I mean, shit. How many fucking threads were there? There's like 14 threads for console specs in Reset Era. It's like 14 threads. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's
just
insane. Everybody had a legitimate supposed source from Reset Era, and they were like, they talked to. One dude said he talked to Mark Cerny, which had me laughing my ass. I was like, okay, I know this is not real, but it was funny. Now this shit's officially confirmed. I'm just glad this shit's done. Everybody can go right back to what what matters, and that's the discussion of games. So, like I said before,
Bro, but the games matter too. But like, look, you think I didn't want PlayStation to come out? I'm so sick of these consoles being being fucking
keeping it real.
Ryan, I'm the biggest Sony guy, but it is like this whole like, oh, it's not. Look, numbers don't lie. 12 is bigger than fucking 10. It's just common sense, dude. And I know I'm gonna get heat for this on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, dude. It is what it is. Dude, look, at the end of the day, the games are gonna come out.
After today, you're gonna see a lot of hardcore PlayStation quote unquote fans, dealer. You already know what I'm talking about, but you're gonna see a lot of them flip this on Twitter and go, "Hey, I'm Xbox." Watch, I promise.
No, I've just seen them all day.
Nah, it ain't that, dude. I'm just saying, like, yeah, the games are gonna
just don't be one of them damage controllers, Big Cloud. Keep the shit.
Oh, he's the biggest damage controller.
I know, right?
Flopper,
Damage
bro.
controlling every fucking day. Shit.
What I damage control? I kept the 100 on everything, sir.
He's a Sony fanboy to the core, bro. Big Cloud, more than I am.
Big Cloud alone. He just did his hair.
Are y'all listening to this slander? The nerve of this man here.
We heard that tone shift when that 10 came up. Oh shit!
Yeah, for real, I almost fucking fell back in my seat. I'm like, oh.
As soon as you saw a 10.3, you knew the public outcry. Immediately, I was like, oh,
it's
shit.
10.29. Look at the spec sheet.
It was like 10.3. It was 10.9 or 10 or 3.
It's 10.29 is I think is what it said. Let me look.
It's 10.3.
Dealer, it said 10.3 at Mark Cerny.
Yeah, it's 10.3. So.
Cerny rounded up again. Damn it.
Call you a fool. I approve slander. You're fired.
Look,
Cerny's a genius. He did what he had. He did what he could with the budget he was given, with the target, for the price the box had, with the CUs. He was alive.
You honestly think that was it? Budget concerns maybe was the big thing.
No, I think they know 400 is the magic mark.
I mean, true. That is true.
It's a badass system for $400.
It's good. Both systems are gonna be great. Yeah, both systems are gonna be really, really great for what they're offering, and it's really gonna be like those games in general. Again, my eyes really are looking forward to what's gonna be, there.
Yeah,
you'll be able to see the difference on the exclusives. Will be the biggest tell, but yeah, there are games gonna come out that are gonna look a lot better on the X. And then there's games are gonna come out that where they're gonna look just fucking identical. Like honestly, they just are. Like some games are gonna look identical, and some games are gonna look like, wow, that shit was way better.
If they try, right?
Yeah, it's developer. It's really up to the developer. That's really it.
But just know that the Delta is. Remember, Ryan, last time I was on your channel.
Yeah,
you were saying that they were gonna be the same.
I did,
and I knew they were. I knew.
Yeah, I was thinking they were going to be very, very similar from what we were looking at. Everything was looking pretty much.
I told you it was going to be 12, and I told you the performance delta was big.
Yeah,
and it is. It is big. There's no denying it. So at the end of the day, if any developer who applies themselves, it's impossible to make the games the same. If they just say "fuck it, I'm lazy," we'll cap everything at 4K or 1440p. Then you're gonna have that.
That right there could happen depending on the market in general. Like let's say if Sony again had the market lead and they were forced to do that for sure. But
I mean, you're talking about minimum of 30 frames per second, 45, 50 frames per second on the GPU alone that it can pump out that the PS5 can't at the same resolution and settings. And they can apply that to resolution, settings, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, but the CPUs is what held back frame rate this generation.
Yeah,
so I mean,
CPUs were definitely in the bottleneck.
No longer a problem going.
Yeah,
I think
shout out to our little sis.
It's a good time to be a gamer, bro. Everybody.
Oh yeah,
everybody wins. You pay a little less, but you get a great.
Shout out to the little sis, aka the Ashen Luca. Or she calls herself Godka, but she's not no Godka.
Passion Loogie.
FC Violent, the Xbox fanboy. There he is.
She dropped $5 super chat. She says, Bito Cloudo, definitely a pony to the core. What's up, big bro dealer? My dude Blaze. Hey, what's up?
Hello, bro. Be safe. Don't be going around licking these sewer drains or anything. You know the shit's going around. It's crazy.
Well, they be licking
Now I gotta hear Solid Rev say, "Oh,
they be licking toilet seats now,
station.
bro. They doing this crazy shit. Oh, it's crazy. What's up, FC Vine? I see you, brother. But nah, it's just I'm glad this shit's done. I really am.
Yeah.
Yo, Mark Cerny could really read me a bedtime story. Like I almost slapped myself the first 5 minutes. Whoa.
I mean, it's kind of funny.
Mark's like he's a relaxed type of person.
Oh, he's a genius, bro. I ain't hating on
he's
Mark. I'm just
relaxed.
telling you, he could read me a bedtime story.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. The GitHub stuff was pretty much right on, and they just clocked at 200 extra megahertz to get up to 10.3 in a variable
Like
frequency.
I was almost. And the 3D audio is they had that on Uncharted 4. It really makes a difference. Seriously, it really does. I'm sure Xbox will have something like that.
It does. Yeah, they've already confirmed an audio ray tracing chip in the Series X. Ninja Theory's actually talked about it. So they both got every form of ray tracing. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't clear that it was my opinion earlier, I fully expect ray tracing in Series X to be better. Definitely better. So
yeah, you're gonna be talking about ray tracing playing Sea of Thieves 2, and you're gonna like it.
No, whatever. You know, I gave Sea of Thieves 2 a -6 out of 10.
But when it has RTX on, you're gonna be like, it's game of the generation. Stop.
It's all right, man. At least I'm not playing damage control of the game. Shit.
Oh, damn the game.
10.3, bitch. Yeah, this should be fun, man. After all the shit talking motherfuckers did.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of traffic to your fucking web day right now after that shit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm happy on my PC right now. I really am. I haven't touched the consoles in a long time, and that's due to Xbox games being on PC as well. It doesn't just mean that. When the PS4 game comes out, I'll play it. Trust me, I'm all over Last of Us Ghost of Tsushima. But I mean, I already have a Series X, but even though I'm still gonna buy one,
I still can't believe how high they got that clock.
That was really surprising. I was like, holy shit, they really.
I thought they were gonna say, because the high clock speed. The Pro, and when I turn on my Pro, it's like, yo, who turned on the fucking vacuum cleaner, bro? It's like, so this thing's gonna be loud again?
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying? It's gonna be loud again?
It's got. I mean, there is no AMD chip in the world that I know of from like right out of the box that runs anywhere near this clock.
Yo, what's good, fellas? We still live?
Yeah, we shutting it down now, pretty much.
Let me just say let me just say real quick, that was some horse shit and some boring ass tech talk. Dude, I was asleep. Don't get me wrong. I'm a PlayStation guy. But that shit put me to sleep.
Curl up in a ball sleeping.
Oh,
dude,
God.
you are right, dealer.
What's
How
going
you
on,
doing,
Mike?
man?
I've talked to you on Twitter a few times.
Yeah, I talked to you a couple times. Never got to talk to you in like real life.
You talking to the enemy, Dealer Gaming? Oh, you're fine. No,
Yo, Mike,
motherfucker, do you not? I swear to God. You don't get damage control at 10.3 already, changing your tone and shit. Like, come on.
everybody, man, you're hey, I gotta play up. I gotta play up to the fucking chat. You know, it's got it's a constant war. Me and Dealer hate each other.
Come on, there. Come on, Blaze. Tell me. You got to admit, Blaze, that shit was a fail.
It was a what? Why was it? Look,
the way the conference was, it was boring as hell.
Yo, look, if you're not into tech, Mike, if you're not into the tech and the nitty gritty of shit, you're gonna think it's boring. You know, I
mean, I get it. I mean, I enjoyed. We got confirmation that it's 10.3 teraflops, all that jazz. The fucking people weren't even real in the stream, dude. Those are fucking cardboard cutouts. They couldn't even find real people to watch this.
Those are real people. They were just like standing still.
No, those are not real people.
Those are real people.
You watching the guy move his head, bro.
Yeah, dude was moving his head.
Don't believe Big Cloud. He's watching this shit at 480i. Motherfucker's always watching shit on his.
Well, if that's real people, let me tell you.
Fastest response time is fucking 480i, though.
Let me tell you, if those were fucking real people, some of those people are ready to fall asleep.
Yo, Daddy's stupid. He said that was like getting a hand job from Betty White. I'm done, dog. I'm done in the He's stupid. All right, well, let's close this out. Let's close this out, man. Dealer, appreciate you coming through, my brother. Thank you so much for jumping on. everybody in the chat who supported. We had like we had over 500 people. Appreciate y'all.
That's a huge bitch.
Turned out. Hope you guys enjoyed this.
Hey, still,
We'll see you guys Friday.
where was the PlayStation 5 at?
Yeah, that was
They're
another
not-
thing
it's-
too.
they're
They
not-
didn't. They
It's
didn't
flying around
show.
over there in the corner.
Yeah, they did.
Exactly, dude.
They didn't
I still
show
think they're
PS5.
fucking building. They're still building it, dealer. They're still building the goddamn thing.
Y'all really think they're building this still?
I still think they're building
Like
it.
they didn't come. They didn't like agree
I don't-
on a design
I don't-
choice. Maybe
I don't think they have a
got
final
that.
build
They
for
got
it.
They got it done.
Big
I mean,
Mike,
like,
that's not the time and place to show off a PS5. They're not going to show it off as some
I mean,
fucking
yeah, true. Yeah, true.
This
But at the
was
same
press
time, when I was
conference.
looking at
Come
this,
on, man.
when I was looking at this, I was at least like when he was going to specs, they didn't even show controller.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the controller wasn't even
you
shown.
were even hoping there, Ryan, that they're going to show
Yeah, I
some
was like, at
haptic
least
feedback.
controller maybe was.
I
shown.
told you they weren't
Yeah.
going to show no console, bro. I've been saying like
The-
that's not the time.
The
and place.
audio alone, the audio alone blew my mind. The audio alone is called Cerny. Cerny audio.
Jesus.
Yo, Dylan,
Yo,
he would
Big
be
Mike, you
talking
just sound like you
this.
turned into a fucking chicken.
Yo, Dylan, he would not be talking like this if it was just me in here. He knows you'd get that ass booted out of here real quick.
Hey,
All right, well, let's go ahead and end this, man. Shout out to you guys.
Mikey.
Appreciate you.
Mikey's
Appreciate
crazy,
y'all.
man.
Y'all came through. Appreciate it. PS5 specifications are out there. They're done. No more speculation. None of that shit. Same thing goes for Xbox Series X. We got that yesterday. So there you guys go. Everything's out there. Both consoles are gonna be good, and the games are now going to be the discussion. So we're going to see what's going to be offered on both sides. Microsoft's doing their event sometime around E3, right? They're doing something for E3.
Now tell Microsoft to announce more games, so we got something to talk about.
Yeah. So they're doing that
Bleeding edge,
for
baby.
E3. No talks of when Sony's doing something next. There wasn't even a mention of that. So we'll see when that eventually gets here.
we got debated. We got debated.
We got what? Oh, the bit. Shut up, right?
We got.
Shut your ass
Hey,
up.
by the way, it's a serious possibility that you're looking at the delay of not necessarily the consoles, but the software.
Yeah,
Because Naughty
yeah.
Dog, 343, none of them are in their offices.
Yeah, everybody's working from home.
They're trying to.
And everybody's trying to work from home and get in, like, try to stealth or not even stealth patch, but they're like trying to get shit.
Yo, I don't mind the consoles get delayed, but if these games get delayed, god damn it, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
heard Last of Us might get delayed.
Again, well,
Then delay it. I don't give a fuck.
I do. I want to play it. Shit.
I mean, shit. Well, you got Resident Evil 3 demo.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Doom comes out. Fuck
we
yeah.
got Doom.
Doom's coming
on
out when?
PC at 4K at 100.
Doom comes out Friday.
Why don't you play that shit at
It
Stadia?
goes out this Friday?
Play that.
Ugh,
This Friday. Doom and Animal
Taylor,
Crossing.
what came out of your mouth, bro?
Nah, man, I'm just making fun of people that love latency. That's
Oh,
all.
my God.
yeah. Doom Eternal's gonna be fire. I can't wait.
fucking incredible, bro.
No, there was no PS5 console reveal. Not even the controller. Just full-fledged specs. What's underneath the hood? What's it gonna do? All that jazz.
It was a damage control reveal. It revealed who's gonna damage control.
Yo, but Taylor, seriously, do you know why the PS5 will be better than the Xbox? My
Oh, here we
fanboy is
go.
starting to creep out. You want to know why though?
What did you say? Your family lives on a creepo? What?
No,
I didn't hear you.
My fanboyism is starting to creep
I
out.
mean, they got the best first party in terms of like.
No,
action
that's not
adventures.
even the reason why. Because when you boot up the system, you see a Sony logo. That's it.
Okay. That's it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Yes, that is true. That is true, Slomo. They actually did not confirm that. They confirmed pretty much. Wow, it's funny. If you go back to that video, I think Dealer tweeted that shit out. Remember that video, that
Confirmed what?
9.2 video I did a while ago, where it was like 3 different modes. So it was like Legacy. They named it Pro Legacy for PS4 Pro, PS4, and obviously the other ones for PS5.
What? So what didn't they confirm?
No, I'm saying they confirmed that video. That
The different
9.2.
modes.
Oh, yeah,
with the
that
three
one,
level, the 3 level modes. That one, yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
that's
depth
pretty
is
much,
different.
yeah. So that was pretty much what that was. So they confirmed full backwards compat with PS4 and Pro, not PS3 or PS2 or 1. I'm guessing PlayStation Now is still their go-to for that now. I'm guessing.
What I'm hearing is that it's only going to play 100 PS4 games, is what I'm hearing.
It's not playing all of them.
It's not playing all of them.
They got to be
just the
fine
top 100 list.
Yeah, they got to be fine. Wait, it's just for the so it's like
God damn.
Wait, they got the
add
to the
sure
list.
More of them will be added, but who cares, bro? As long as they got the essentials, I mean, really. If I want,
So they got to add. So they got to add.
At
to
the same
list,
time, though, don't
fine-tune
you?
it?
I mean, I would want to keep my damn purchases. And
Yeah, that's
you're right.
definitely. Definitely.
You're right.
Yeah, so they have to fine tune the listing. That's
You're right
crazy.
about
They
that.
have to legit build.
That's what I was hearing there, slow-mo.
They
The
gotta
top
build.
100 games at launch. The top 100 PS4 games at launch.
At launch, so the possibility.
So maybe they'll add more.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
They
I'm
could
just
add
saying,
more,
too.
bro. If the demand is high, but if they're looking at the data and saying, "Look, no one's playing anything," you know,
Yeah,
dude. As long as they
that's
put Bloodborne and these kind of, like, I'm good.
Yeah, all the
think
heavy
they do
hitters that
everything they
define
can to get people to
PS4
see they
will
pay,
work
you
day
know?
one, but everything else is like, eh.
And if you want to play PS3 games, go buy a PS3. If you live in a submarine, go buy a PS2.
And go sit next to Don Matrick.
Well,
Don
good luck.
Matrick, what a
Good luck
beast.
with dealer. This fraud dealer. He's gonna be dropping $500 for a damn proprietary SSD. You know, carry his little
Yeah.
garbage.
Damn, are you frauding out here, Dylan?
Yeah,
God.
man. At least I spoke up about it, man. I didn't damage control the shit, so that's good.
I ain't
But,
damage from nothing, sir.
Motherfucker, you heard your tone. Don't try to change it now.
Oh, this motherfucker.
We heard you.
He gonna try me. He gonna try me. He gonna try me. No, what's up, bro? It's always good to talk to you, man.
I'm really curious about how much that thing will cost.
Yeah,
though,
I
and
said-
I'm
I
not
said
a fan
that
of
too.
Seagate either. You know, I
Yeah.
criticized all the shit in my video about it. Like, I'm not a fan
I
of it.
said that shit
and,
too. I was like, again, that was what killed the Vita, low key. Aside from no killer launch title, it was really that, And so that opens up another door of like
What, you talking about
proprietary
memory
SSD,
card?
yeah.
Bro, but there'll be stuff on the market that you can buy, bro. He said it. He just doesn't want to say.
No,
go
we're
get
talking about
anything you
Xbox
want.
Series X.
Talking about Xbox. Series
yeah,
X
yeah.
right now,
Sony's
there's
is allowing you to use Sony's not using proprietary SSD. They're actually using M.2 drives that are upgradable. You can upgrade those, so that's pretty cool. You can actually
But
swap
those PCI 4 M.2s are pretty pricey as well. But you do get all that performance.
you get a shit ton of performance. So if you pop in a Samsung Evo 97 Evo, you be good to go.
Well, that's way
As long as
that's
Microsoft
way
has,
slower than the one that comes in the PS5. But yeah.
but if Microsoft has these cards on demand and
Yeah, I can see
they're
that.
valued at a good price, no one's gonna have a problem buying them. You know what I mean? I'll buy them all day as long as they're valued correctly. I have no problem buying.
I hate to
I
break
don't
it to
care.
you, Derek. That is not the best for gamer experience. Proprietary, I wouldn't say that.
No.
now, when it comes to that wallet as well, oh no,
Not for the if it's the one that's stuck inside the console, okay. But if you're talking about us upgrading and adding, no, it's not good for us.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
We're
Like,
getting
they
in
got-
that
they have
realm
a
now where
memory
consoles are
card.
fucking
They basically
upgradable.
have memory cards that you can expand the storage with,
Yeah,
and they're proprietary.
yeah, definitely.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Well, ladies and gents, the fan. Well, actually, no. I was about to say fan. The console war rages on. Now you're going to see a lot of people burn their systems and say they're done with PlayStation. Everybody is going to talk games and have fun. But dealer, thank you so much for coming through, my brother. Like always, good to talk to you. Appreciate it, man. It was good to see you in the chat.
no
Good to see you
problem.
back here. We need to talk more often. We don't talk as much, but we have we're
Hey,
on
man,
different sides, man. You're too
it's
good.
different
You're
sides.
too good to chill with good friends. That's how it is.
Shit.
You too good to hang out with me.
I know.
He doesn't return my messages. I say what's up. He goes, no, I hit him up with a message. No, here's a true story. Here's a true story for you.
story.
I was like, hey, dude, hey, good job on RDX. He said, fuck you. I don't need RDX. Fuck you.
And that was outside of an Aldi shit.
I mean, shit, I'm still trying to get him on the platform podcast. He's dodging me.
One time, fraud. I got a billion DMs. I can't keep.
Oh, I know you should be crazy. You said it before, even in a private chat. You was like, dude, that Discord shit. You be like, you go ghost on all the time.
I told him. I said, sorry guys, I can't.
It's too much shit. It's too much shit for a lot of people. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, well, that's it, guys. Hit that like button. You enjoyed the stream. Appreciate everybody again. Big Mike, go ahead do your outro. Let's go ahead and shut this down.
Yo, check out the platform podcast Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Be there. Check me on Twitter. Follow me. You know all that good shit.
Yep.
He said, follow him.
Follow me.
FC Violent, I see you in the chat, bro. Appreciate you coming through. Blaze, go ahead.
Yeah. Good show. Good talking, you guys. Good talking, you finally, dealer. Mike, shut your damn mouth. And yeah, you already know what time it is.
Oh yeah,
It's T-flap time. It's T-flapping time.
It's definitely T-flap time.
It's your mouth running time, boy.
It would have definitely been T-flap time. The PS5 had more T-flaps. Let's not forget.
Yeah, Dylan, if the PS5 had 13, I was calling you. I don't care. I'm coming at you.
Oh, he was waiting. Yeah. He wanted that so he can call him.
A lot of Sony fans would have pulled the power shit. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie.
Now, all of them almost would have.
Yeah.
Power didn't matter the second the Xbox One X was announced. We all know that. So when it comes down to it, it's power and games, guys. You don't have to choose.
It's games dealer. You just a fraud. You don't.
All right, then get rid of your PC.
Don't tell me what to do, devil.
Just a fraud.
Don't tell me what you do.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
it was a good show. It was good talking to you two, Big Mike and Blaze, and of course Fraud Cloud and
we're gonna fight. We're
remember,
fighting off air.
we need that meme with Bit Cloud's face. 10.3 fuck.
Yo, his name is Bit Trash Gaming, by the way, not Bit Fraud.
Bit Trash Gaming. Oh god.
That's what I deal with off air for y'all. I do this all the time.
It's great.
Appreciate
great show.
you.
Trash.
Oh god. Okay. I'm gonna say
no, seriously, man. Thanks for having me on, man. And a lot of people in the chat take this shit too seriously. They also believe idiots that clip 1 minute of a video and don't show where I said, at least for the Xbox, I think this is accurate. There's issues here. So
like I told you, what did I tell you before you start getting even bigger with your channel? I was like, nah, you can get more of that. Sabotagers, ignore them, do your shit, fuck them. Do your thing.
I don't like to. I like kind of. I don't like people to not know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to me, because there's a lot of
the more you grow as a content creator, the more you'll run into those type of people who try.
There is a lot of misconception of you, dealer, because I used to see these little Twitter clips of you.
A lot of them.
These little 2-minute clips of what you're saying. I'm like, what did he just say? 'Cause that's seriously what it is. People take a little clip, post it, and then like, what the fuck this guy,
And
so
they
that's
skip
what
the
ends up happening.
They skip, the back half of the video where I double down on the disclaimer in a different way. I'm sure to do this every time. And I link every single source that I'm talking about as well. So people that's just how it is, man. So
keep moving your numbers, do what you gotta do. I'm not mad at anybody. I don't got no problems with anybody on this shit. Just everybody.
It's all gaming.
People get mad at success, man, and they get jealous over it. So just keep doing your shit.
Well, I mean, it's gaming. It's a hobby. I think people are that's stupid.
They're
people
too gone.
We fuck around and we do the little, the fuck shit sometimes. But at the end of the day, like
every week,
every single person I talk to, like BitCloud, right? I know this fucker used to make videos about me, but at the end of the day. I talked about him. He did one video. I talked to him, and look, dude's fine. Like everyone's a regular person, right? So it ain't nothing changed. We're all playing games, and if you can get along, it's just plastic.
Just get along, bro. And it's okay to prefer something. Okay to have a favorite.
Have your preferences, but at the end of the day, no, you're a gamer. We game, we chill, we hang out here. But again, appreciate it. Like always, man. Y'all have an awesome one. This is Big Cloud Gaming. See you guys Friday, RGT Podcast. We signing out. Y'all have a blessed one.